Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy this manga recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. The story begins by introducing the Rune Candle family, a swordsman clan that rules over half the world. Members of this clan are exceptional talents, and in a world engulfed in this ideology, survival of the fittest. Only the strong survive. Our protagonist is Jin Rune Candle. As a baby, he selected a sword called the Berisara in his selection ritual, which intrigued the mysterious man from behind him. Jin always thought that his life would be full of success, but life likes to play cruel tricks, and Jin was talentless with the sword and named the weakest member of the Rune Candle family. Present day, we see Jin practicing in the courtyard when two of his brothers approach. They ask why he's even training with a wooden sword and not his Berisara, and begin mocking our protagonist. Jin ignores the remarks and continues his training, but the brothers demand an answer, and one strikes Jin to the floor. They ask him again why he is training when it's pointless for him since he's garbage with a sword. Another brother steps on his hand, and the other boy grabs the book that Jin was using to train. This book is the basic method of swordsmanship. They really wonder if Jin really thinks that he can get somewhere studying this garbage. They begin breaking the wooden sword and book despite Jin's cries, and then they snap, and they mock him for even training when he will always be helpless. Jin is grabbed by the head and asked if he learned those manners from his nanny. Jin continues to struggle, but the boys think it's time to teach him a real lesson. Growing up, it seems that he always had to deal with this kind of harassment from his family, and having almost zero talent with the sword, he always thought if he worked hard enough, maybe his fate would change. Maybe he would have had his family's acknowledgement. One day, he strived to be a proud member of the Rune Candles. Later that evening, Jin was expelled from the family, and only because of his hard work, the family won't have him killed. And I thought my parents were mean, what the hell? At the age of 23, Jin was left to fend for himself, with no destination. But he did end up finding a new master, and this is where he learned that he did after all have talent, a talent for magic. You see, magic was forbidden in the Swordsman clan, but in 3 years, Jin honed his abilities and learned how to better control his mana. As he's studying, he's engulfed by shadows, and he's trying to understand what's going on. But a figure introduces itself as Soldier, the master of shadows. Jin Rune Candle, as the god of shadows, allow me to propose a contract. With this contract, not only will you be able to use spiritual powers, but also nullify all curses. And this mysterious entity also noticed that Jin has been cursed since a very young age. Due to a small curse that I see upon you, you're unable to draw your full potential. This revelation shocks Jin. It's a curse called Bladed Illusion. It represses one's talent for the sword. No wonder Jin's life has been such a burden, especially coming from the Rune Candle family. Jin finally understands why his life has been so miserable. This must be why the Lord of Shadows was drawn to him. From this moment onward, no curse can harm him, and the only thing left for him to do is to become the world's greatest magical swordsman. The Lord of Shadows smiles and will be watching with pleasure, and Jin exits the mysterious shadowy cocoon, and he absorbs all the information that he's just received and gets a spark of determination. He grips his sword and goes outside to test his new skills, and it's just as Solderit said. When Jin grabbed his sword, it was a brand new feeling. It felt like an extension of his arm. When he swings his sword, he also adds magic to it, making him much stronger than before. Now, the weakest man from Rune Candle is no more, and all of his hard work and torture will be coming to light. I don't know if his joy is gonna last too long, because overlooking our protagonist is 3 knights, which I assume are mercenaries watching him train from the hill above. Some time passes and we see a large explosion occur, and our protagonist is stuck under some rubble, calling out to anyone, "Solderit, are you there?" Jin questions why his body feels so heavy, but someone approaches. Who's there, Jin wonders. Is this really the end of his life? Dying in his sleep before he can even accomplish anything? Why was he even given a second chance? Jin wakes up with some smaller looking arms and looks around to see members of his clan. He was so sure that he just died, but now he's being greeted by his old nanny, Gilly. He's looking through the field of swords and sees the one he picked, Berisara. Ah, this must be the selection ritual. Jin has returned to the past as a 1-year-old baby. In his past life, he grabbed this sword by accident, and the crowd is excited to see what the new young lord would grab. But this time, Jin isn't picking it out of pure luck. He's picking it because he wants to. A similar response is felt throughout the crowd. They order to move the child to Storm Castle, and 6 years later, we see Jin struggling to reach some books. He's been in this castle for 6 years, and following what happened in his past life, he's gonna be here until he's 10. It gets boring, but our hero can't waste any time. All of a sudden, a dead bird is thrown into the room. Only one person comes to mind, his 2 bully brothers. These bozos look towards Jin, and it seems their torment began at a young age. The first brother, Daytona Rune Candle, is 9 years old and curses that the maid found the bird before him. He's accompanied by his twin brother Heiton. They wanted to use this as a gift to Jin, but this seems like a pretty cruel joke for some 9-year-olds. Later in life, these two boys end up having a reputation as murderers after becoming flag bearers. They killed an innocent bird just to mess with Jin. They tell Jin not to cry, the bird was ugly anyways. They continue on saying that who the hell does Jin think he is anyways? Just because he chose the sword of patriarchy doesn't mean he's too good to talk to us twins, right? Jin mutters some words under his breath and Heitona tells him that he can't hear him as he draws back a punch. But this time, Jin isn't a pushover. He grabs Heitona's hand before he can do anything and tells him to shut the hell up and hits him with an uppercut to the jaw. The boy is furious, but Jin keeps battering him. This is for all the stress and torture that he had to deal with for years. He tells the boys that it will be better for them not to step into Jin's sight. An older man comes into the room and asks what happened. Jin says he doesn't know. He walked in and it seems the boys are fighting and both collapsed. The man sees through this, however, and thinks that it's expected from the youngest rune candle. He's brutal indeed. He grabs the boys to take them to the doctor, but Jin tells the man, whose name is Khan, that they have somewhere else to be. Jin signals him to follow. They place the two boys next to a tree outside in the rain. Jin buries the dead bird and leaves the two boys by its side. Khan wonders why Jin is doing this. The rain won't let up and the storm will only get stronger. Jin tells the man that his two brothers need to learn the consequences of their actions. Khan grits his teeth but respects the wishes of the young master. Khan wonders what kind of energy he's feeling from Jin. It wasn't aura, perhaps it was magic? If that's the case, this wasn't a simple fight between brothers. He needs to report this to the patriarch right away. He tells one of the attendants to bring him a horse. Jin expected this, however, as he watches Khan from an upstairs window. Khan is the kid's guardian knight, but also serves as a watchdog for the family. Jin's power looks like mana to someone like Khan, so there's no way he would keep quiet about this. The darkness around Jin's hand is spiritual power, and the proof of the contract between Jin and Soldaret. But thanks to this, he knows that even in this life, his contract is still valid. In addition, he still has immunity to curses, which makes him even more powerful this time around. Now, the weakling of Rune Candle is no more. His life is going to be very different than it was before. The only thing left to do is meet his father. The scene shifts to Khan delivering this message to the patriarch. He tells Khan to assemble the knights. He is going to meet the youngest. They assemble the 7 knights of Rune Candle and around 200 knights under them for the journey. Is this not a little excessive for meeting a child? I mean, I don't know. We see a shot of all these different characters, which I'm excited to learn about, led by an absolutely savage looking patriarch with long white hair and a menacing gaze. One of the knights asks her brother, Dippus, if he knows why they were summoned. She asked Luna as well, but she didn't seem to know anything. This is Mary Rune Candle. She stretches her arms and sighs. Right before this, she was dealing with some annoying magicians. Dippus tries to understand the situation and concludes that maybe they're gonna see the youngest brother, Jin. It clicks with Mary too, since it's the same brother that chose the patriarch's sword in the selection ritual. But is it really necessary, she wonders? It's hard to tell what their father is thinking. Luna approaches and calls for the two. Back at Storm Castle, Jin is being prepared by Gilly for his master's arrival. Jin thinks that Khan's personality wouldn't let him assume that he used magic right away. Rather, he just told the patriarch of what he saw. The youngest son is using a strange power, and now the father is coming to see it for himself, and also to see if Jin will be the future of the clan. The patriarch arrives and the soldiers bow. He calls for the Tone-Up twins, and he sits on the throne and asks them if they had a fight with Jin. What were your mistakes in this quarrel? The two boys plead that they did nothing wrong and Jin hit them first, with some kind of weird ability. It wasn't aura, so maybe it was magic. The two boys try to use this lie to their advantage since magic is taboo. Mary agrees that if Jin did use magic, then they need to interrogate him. But the father asks the group to be quiet. He tells the boys to engrave this into their hearts. They will never survive in Rune Candle like that. Now, the father brings Jin in as he passes the boys who have a stressed expression. Jin's father is Siren Rune Candle, and he is the strongest yet coldest man that he has ever known. The strongest swordsman of this era, a man who's reached the level of demigod, the Genesis Knight. He was once a man, but ever since he reached this level, it's almost like he lost all of his emotions, tying him to his humanity, and has become obsessed with the clan's prosperity. In his past life, someone like Jin, who didn't have any skills, was worthless in his eyes. However, this time is different. Jin enters the room and bows towards his father, and Siren asks why he addressed him as patriarch and not as father. Jin says that it's only right to call him that since he brought all of his troops here to see him. Luna approves of this answer, but Siren tells Jin that he came here for several reasons and to address him as father. He asks Jin what mistake his brothers made in their fight, and Jin answers, revenge. In this family, when someone is punished, they get the same crime that they committed. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Siren asks for everyone to leave the room except Jin. All of the attendants wonder if this means that Jin has passed the test. A one-on-one with the father, huh? He sent everyone away because the Tono brothers told him that Jin has a special power, and as he knows, magic is strictly forbidden, because one who learns magic can never reach their true potential in swordsmanship. What is the power you hold, Jin? If it is magic, you won't get away with it. Jin thinks to himself that now his father knows of his secret powers, and it's gonna be hard to get away from this subject. He doesn't tell him about Solderit, but rather pretends he also doesn't know what it is. But it's neither magic nor aura, and Jin wonders what to call it himself and ignites a dark ball of fire in his hand and asks the patriarch to name it himself. Siren is shocked. This is the power of the first patriarch. Siren knows that this is spiritual power. He thinks that the spirit of Barasada lives inside of Jin, so maybe he is fit to be the future patriarch. Jin asks his father what to name it, but Siren responds saying that this is the power of Solderit, the god of shadows. Jin pretends not to know who that is, and Siren continues with his explanation. Solderit made a contract with the first patriarch, Sir Temar, and is a god who has been with the rune candles since the birth of the house. But after Sir Tamar's passing, Solderit vanished and hasn't reappeared since. Siren didn't know the reason, but Solderit has returned inside of Jin. Jin asks his father if Solderit is stronger than he is. He thinks on it for a moment, and he's never fought a god before, so he doesn't know. Jin smirks and thinks just because Siren has never fought a god, he doesn't know if he can take one. Definitely a response from the world's strongest swordsman. Siren tells his son that it was a good question and pats him over the head. His question will be another great topic for him. Siren is happy he came to visit Jin today. He asks him how he plans to use his newfound power, and Jin responds saying he will use it for the clan. Siren just laughs. What an amazing lie. You beat your brothers and left them in a storm, yet you say you want to use this power for the clan. Answer honestly. Jin yields and tells him that he wants to use his power for himself. Siren appreciates the honesty and likes the answer. From now on, he will be watching him. As Siren leaves, Jin's knees shake after standing in front of this beast of a man, but he smiles. He's finally received his father's blessing. All he hoped was for to be able to use his powers, but now, even his father has high hopes for his improvement. Not even Jin could have expected it to go that well. He clenches his fist, and things are finally changing for the better. Outside the castle, before the troops leave, Mary hands her little brother Jin a gift. She hands it to Gilly and tells him to eat it well, and tells the boy to get strong fast. Jin wonders why Mary is interested in him as well. He opens the package and is surprised to see a phoenix heart. Giving this to a 7-year-old is unheard of. Sister Mary is insane. She has the nickname Stormwind Mary, but also has another secret name, the Southern Region's Madwoman. He now understands why a battle-hungry maniac would give him something like this. She is basically saying to grow up and fight me. If this heart is eaten at a young age, one can receive resistance to fire and an increased growth rate. And now Jin thinks about it. A phoenix heart was also needed for 6-star magicians to safely summon a phoenix. Maybe in this life, he'll be able to summon one. Gilly approaches the young master and hands him a bowl of soup, but before he goes to eat, he's interrupted by the two twins from before and asks them what they want and to stop staring at his food. They say that he looks pretty lonely eating by himself, and Gilly is holding a huge pot. Jin sees through the boys and asks them if they want to eat. They both nod, and Jin tells them that he'll let them eat if they do him one small favor. We now see the two digging in a cave, wondering why the hell Jin sent them down here. Nothing's here. The soup was pretty good, so maybe it'll be worth it. They think if anyone gets in trouble for this, it's gonna be Jin. But now, the two boys fear the youngest. Under the rumble, we see a testing chamber, and a piece of rock hits a part of this futuristic-looking machine. Inside the circular tank is a man suspended with the same dark shadows that are swirling around Jin. The two boys return to the room in hopes to eat some soup. They look incredibly tired from their endeavor, and Jin welcomes them back and tells them that they got back faster than he expected. He tells the boys that he left them their food over there. But, to the twins' surprise, Jin only left them 2 spoonfuls. That's messed up, man, but it's also pretty funny. He still didn't forgive them for what they did to him in his past life, and they're in despair and ask Jin what kind of joke this is. Jin says that they only asked him to share, they never said how much they wanted, but he shared just as he promised. The scene shifts and we see Jin venturing out in the rain. He goes to check on the boys' jobs, not trusting if they did exactly what he wanted, but it turns out they did just perfectly. He pats the rock that's blocking his way and thinks that a 1-star spell should be enough It's time for Jin to let out some stress because he's building up mana all this time and had nothing to use it on. He places both hands on the rock and bursts out green lights erupting from a magical circle. He is pleased and finds behind the rock is the Rune Candle's secret library. This was a place he couldn't come to in his previous life, and it feels strange to even stand here. Jin remembers his big brother saying that there is a special activation code. A child of Rune Candle has come to console Murakami. The door opens and Jin enters. This place holds a large collection of secret tomes that the Rune Candle clan has collected over the last 1,000 years. Entry is only permitted to flag bearers of Rune Candle. In his past life, his big brother only told him this phrase because he never thought that Jin would ever be able to enter, but now it's proving quite useful. He enters the room and sees the man in the test tube from the end of the previous chapter. Who is this, he thinks. This guy has scales. Is he even human? Jin reaches towards the glass and he wonders what he's doing here, but then remembers the activation phrase. A child of Rune Candle has come to console Murakami. Is this the black dragon Murakami? Jin has heard that Murakami lost to the first patriarch and fell into a coma. To think that the legend is actually real. But now is not the time to sightsee. He needs to find those secret tomes. He goes into the next room and starts searching through the ancient texts, and he finds a tome that he's looking for from the famous swordmaster in clan. He opens the book and thinks that this topic is hard to understand since it's 3-star theory. Jin wants to take it with him but knows that he's going to get caught. So he busts out his own book and will do the tedious task of copying everything that he thinks is useful. Jin is studying these books for a couple days, and one evening back inside the library, someone enters the room behind him, asking who he is. Murakami? What is he doing awake? Jin doesn't remember anything about him waking up. Jin needs to calm down. Murakami is the clan's guardian. If he acts like a child, he might go easy on him. Jin shakily gets some words out and greets the clan's guardian. Guardian? Murakami is enraged at these words. Did Jin just call him a guardian? Why do these Rune Candle bastards call him a guardian? How dare they teach that to people? Murakami is furious but can't take his anger out on a helpless boy. He sighs in disbelief and kneels down. He only got up because he smelled something nice, for the first time in a while. But it turns out it's just a little brat. He sniffs further and asks Jin why he smells spiritual energy on him. Jin pretends not to know, and Murakami says that even though he's been sleeping for 1,000 years, he will always remember the dense smell of spiritual energy. It's something that only contractors like Tamar would have. Jin finally understands that he's the reason Murakami woke up. However, the dragon doesn't believe that it's coming from the child and searches the room. Jin laughs at the situation and thinks maybe it's time to test his abilities. He calls Murakami over and asks him if he's talking about this, and lights a dark flame around his hands. Murakami is shocked, and Jin says that his father told him that this is the power of Soldaret. Murakami is perplexed and asks if Soldaret is joking. He can't be serious. The promised 1,000-year contractor? Is this Pipsqueak? The two look at each other with an awkward silence, but Murakami tells Jin that he made a promise to Soldaret. He has to help Jin according to that promise. It's a little hard for a kid to understand. Murakami introduces himself formally as Soldaret's proxy and friend, and the last descendant of the first beings of Shadow. Murakami transforms into his true form, and according to a 1,000-year promise, starting today, he will be with him. With me? Jin questions. Murakami asks for the name of Soldaret's contractor, and Jin introduces himself as the 13th child of Rune Candle, and shakes the dragon's claw. Murakami was once a menacing black dragon, but long ago he was defeated by Tamar Rune Candle, and after his castle fell, Murakami went into a deep sleep. But that isn't the truth Jin finds. Those who make contracts with gods do so with guardian dragons. Little was ever known on the guardian dragon of Soul. Does this mean that Murakami will be Jin's guardian dragon as well? He opens the door into the library and hands the dragon some snacks. He wants to extract as much information out of him as he can, and it would be like this for many weeks. The only fact that he comes to find about this dragon is his fetish for strawberry pie. Murakami asks Jin what he does down in the library, and Jin responds telling him that he transcribes all the books that he can't take out. Murakami is impressed with his work ethic, but in the Rune Candle family, it's survival of the fittest, so there's no choice. Jin thinks to himself how he would stack up to Tamar after being compared to him, but Murakami interjects saying that that man wouldn't understand a single line in these books at Jin's age. However, he didn't read books, but still fought well. You may have potential, but you're definitely not as good as Tamar. This is a shocking revelation to our hero. Jin asks if he can ever be as strong as Tamar. Murakami just pats his head saying no, but not to focus on that. Just train hard and the rest will fall into place. And maybe one day, you can even surpass him. Jin wonders if that's even possible, but Murakan responds asking if he knows Solderet's nickname, Infinite. Solderet's power has no limit, therefore Jin has no limit, and it's up to him to see the heights of his power that he wants to achieve. And to make him feel better, Murakan will teach him some moves. The first lesson will be Shadow Energy Liberation. This is the first lesson in manipulating shadow energy. This type of power can be very dangerous if not used properly. First, you need to learn to open your mana. Jin pretends to be confused, but in reality he has done this in his past life. Shadow Energy Liberation is about opening and moving mana. One must be able to do these two things well. Jin, you'll need to practice this for about 2 to 3 years before you can get the hang of it. 2 to 3 years? That's way too long for our boy. As he just straight up cheat codes in front of the dragon, Jin presents a Rasengan looking mana circle to the dragon, which makes his hair stand up in sheer shock. How can a 9-year-old boy master mana manipulation in this short amount of time? He wonders when he was able to do that, and Jin said he always felt good with manipulating mana. Murakan thinks that this might really be a genius. Okay, it's time for a real lesson. Shadow Energy Liberation is taking power from all the shadows in Solderet's domain. Since the god is the owner of all the shadows in the world, and since Jin is the god's contractor, that means he can be the owner of all the shadows in the world as well, as they begin to envelop his figure. In this absolute sick panel, the shadows fade, and Murakan asks how it felt. Jin is pleasantly surprised at his newfound power, and the scene shifts to Lady Luna whooping some dino ass. And one of her soldiers informs her that only a couple areas remain until the completion of their mission. She tells her soldiers to take a break and asks another question. What do 9-year-old boys like? Looks like she's preparing a gift for our young prodigy. We time skip to about 6 months later, and the twins have left the castle, and Gilly and the other attendants are celebrating Jin's 9th birthday. Jin tells her to hand everyone some cake, but all of a sudden Khan enters the room. He apologizes for the interruption, but behind him is Luna, and she approaches. A quick aside here, this is how you do a strong female character. She looks badass. Luna visits the young lord, which gives him a slight surprise. You see, Luna is the Rune Candle's first flag bearer and 9-star knight, and the firstborn of the 13 siblings, and nicknamed the White Whale. Despite being the strongest, however, she has no interest in taking over the family, and has distanced herself from the power struggle, and usually only moves alone. She has never shown any interest in her family members, and in Jin's past life, it may be more appropriate to call them strangers. Yet now, his sister came to visit him for his 9th birthday. Jin wonders if something happened. Maybe he was found out for sneaking into the library. Jin apologizes, saying that if he had known that she was going to come, he would have prepared. But Luna just smiles and pats him on the head. There's no need to make an announcement. She just wanted to come see her baby brother. She grips Jin and wonders if he's sick, but he responds saying that he's just a little nervous. It is his first time seeing her up close. Luna realizes that Rune Candle's siblings typically put each other in check, so love is usually a disguise for something more devious. She tightens her grip at this backwards family, cursing them for polluting the mind of a child. She apologizes to Jin for not understanding the situation. She takes one knee and holds Jin's hand and asks to speak with him in private. Jin doesn't think the situation is too bad and agrees. The panel shifts to this conversation, and Luna says the reason she came here is because she has something to tell him. When father visited her last, he told her about Jin's behavior, and it garnered the attention of all the siblings. So the moment he leaves Stormcastle, all of their eyes will be on him. She grips Jin's hand and prays that in his sibling rivalry, he won't lose his own happiness, and wants him not to suffer from this family tradition. It clicks inside Jin's mind why Luna is acting this way, both now and in his past life. She never wanted to take part in this. She never warned him before, maybe because he wasn't worth speaking to, or he wasn't seen as competition. He thanks Luna for her words, but Jin has no intention of sitting on the sidelines. He is going to be the next patriarch. Luna assures him that she is serious, and not only because he will compete against her, but Jin stops her and says he knows what it's like. He's already dealt with an assassination attempt. This shocks Luna. She's now enraged and demands to know who would dare harm her brother inside Storm Castle. She urges Jin to tell her, but he can't since he doesn't even know. But he reassures her that he is fine, and thanks Luna for letting him know that not all of his siblings are after him. She brings Jin close and hugs him. She is saddened by the fact that this young boy is already involved in the power struggle. Jin is still so surprised that the famous White Whale was such a tender-hearted person. She changes the conversation, and today is his birthday after all. They shouldn't be talking about such things. She actually came here to give him a gift. What gift? Jin wonders. Luna pulls out a necklace from her jacket and puts it around our boy, and tells him that if there's ever a time where the situation is more than he can handle, break the blue gem in the necklace. Wherever Jin is, Luna will come to him. Please remember to have it on you at all times. Happy birthday, Jin. Gilly is happy that our boy is finally getting some family love, and gives Luna some cake. But shortly after, she takes her leave. Jin goes back into the library, and Murakami instantly asks him who gave him that necklace. Whoever it was must really love you. Jin is further confused, but Murakami explains that that is an artifact of a demon king, Orgal. For 1,000 years, people were risking their lives to get something like this. Jin wonders if it's really that amazing, and Murakami continues. It gives the wearer resistance to magic at 5 stars and below, and enhances one's magical abilities. He also heard that it has some summoning abilities in it. Jin praises the dragon for knowing so much, but he was alive in the same period it was made, so it's only natural. Jin tells the dragon that his elder sister came here to visit, but he already sensed her energy, and by that logic, she probably sensed Murakami's as well. Jin can only hope that Luna will keep his secret, and hands Murakami some cake. The dragon shakes it off, saying that anyone who would give him a necklace like this most likely means that they are on his side, and Jin can trust her. Murakami is loving the cake, and we switch to Luna leaving the castle. She vows to always be on Jin's side, and will pretend not to know what he's up to. Bonus points for Big Sis. It seems Jin's time in Storm Castle wasn't a waste after all. He gained his father's approval, a phoenix heart, and a good connection with Luna. And to top it all, met the guardian dragon Murakami. Some time passes and now Jin is 10 years old, and it's about time that he leaves Storm Castle. Jin is seen training hand-to-hand combat with Khan, and as he's training our hero and exchanging a few blows, he can tell why the patriarch is so interested in him. In all his years of training, he has never felt the way he is right now. It feels like he's the one being examined rather than doing the examining. He bows towards Jin and thanks him and tells him that it's been an honor training him. But now, there isn't much to learn at Storm Castle, but he'll try his best in the coming sessions up until the moment that Jin leaves. Some time passes and Jin is putting his finger over a candle, testing his fire resistance. It seems that the Phoenix Heart is taking effect. He notes that the fire just feels like warm water. Gilly is happy that Mary's gift has been put to good use, and it's also her first time seeing what a Phoenix Heart can do. Jin notes that at this stage he's absorbed at least half of the Phoenix Heart, so in a couple years he'll be able to utilize its full power. Gilly prepares Jin's things for his departure and picks up 2 books, asking where to pack them. She says as a final gift she will prepare some strawberry pie, and this makes Jin remember something. It seems like he forgot about Murakami for a sec. He goes down to the library to find him, and Jin wonders how Murakami will still accompany him after he has left Storm Castle. Murakami just scoffs at this, saying that he is a legendary black dragon, it's gonna work out. No matter how weakened he has become, he can follow Jin pretty easily. It shouldn't be a problem. This is the first time Jin has heard that Murakami is actually weakened, but he continues on saying that how could he be 100% after sleeping for 1,000 years? Murakami will get stronger as Jin does, since he is his guardian dragon after all. So go ahead and become a strong magical swordsman. Magical swordsman? Jin remembers that Soldaret once told him that the Rune Candle family was once comprised of magical swordsmen, and the first patriarch being the strongest of them all. But there was a reason why the family decided to abandon magic. It was an event from 1,000 years ago. Murakami ponders if he even needs to hide. If he just shows up as the guardian, maybe Jin's popularity will grow. But surely the story of Murakami is too old for people to get behind 100%, so he's just gonna have to hide well. Jin asks the dragon what about the test tube he was found in. Someone is gonna be curious if he's not there, but Murakami had a plan for that as well. He's gonna use some draconic magic to make a duplicate to sit inside the tube. Jin keeps the questions going, and what if the duplicate is found out? But all of these questions seem to just anger Murakami. He is the shadow dragon, it's best not to underestimate him. But he is not at full strength, so holding a duplicate will be difficult over a long time. So he's gonna try his best to keep it still until Jin gets older. Jin thanks him for his effort and presents him a special present. Gilly's strawberry pie with a bottle of wine that he stole. Murakami is so excited for his gift and thanks Jin, but Jin just warns him not to get too drunk and make a weird duplicate. Murakami wants to find out the mastermind behind the cake and wants to meet Gilly himself, but Jin isn't too fond of that idea. The scene shifts. Gilly is buttoning Jin's coat and giving him some advice from here on out. His life is going to get harder, and she wishes him the best of luck, and she will always be here if he needs anything. 2 knights, Jerome and Holtz, will serve as escorts to the young lord, and in the year 1790, on October 30th, Jin left Storm Castle and is headed to the main house, the Garden of Swords. During the journey, Jin notices that the snow is building up fast. That's gonna have to cause the group to wait it out in a nearby village. And all of a sudden, a clash of blades is heard. It's an ambush. Gilly quickly grabs Jin, telling the boy not to worry. But I think Jin is like 3 times stronger than you, Gilly, but I do love the mom vibes. Jerome and Holtz are 7-star knights, and they're surrounded by around 20 warriors and magicians. Gilly assures him that no one among the forces seems to be 7 stars, but Jin gets a realization. Not a single knight of Runecandle would ever leave a child's side. Something is off. He tells Gilly that they need to leave the carriage now, since neither of them are by his side. It either means they are fakes or traitors. Something might be wrong with the carriage as well. Gilly bites her lip, and as a servant of Runecandle, she vows to protect them and pulls out some Wolverine-type claws. And I immediately am gonna take back what I said. Jin might not be stronger, holy shit. With a quick flurry, she breaks out of the carriage with Jin in her arms and tries to evade the pursuers. She worries that she will be punished for this turn of events, but Jin tells her that this is not the time to be worrying about stuff like that, and instructs her to go towards the 2 knights. There's something he needs to check. The ones attacking could be their allies. If the ambushers were aiming for him, then as soon as he left the carriage, it would have been their top priority to kill him. Yet no one is giving chase. We shift back to the scene, and a red-haired man is ordering his men to look for the young master, and it's just as Jin thought. Gilly recognizes the emblem of the Black Beast. It's the Yuta clan, a group of mages from Middle, and the Black King mercenaries. They are allies of Runecandle. They find Jin and Gilly, and the red-haired man introduces himself as the vice captain of the 3rd Corps of the Black King mercenaries. Their mission is to rescue Jin. The 2 knights from before are enraged seeing Jin with a quote-unquote enemy, but it seems they were fakes all along. No 7-star knights would struggle with this competition. Gilly demands to know who these men are, but Jerome smiles. He would never tell a Runecandle dog anything. She asks Jin on what they should do, and he calmly orders her to kill one and remove the arm of another, and bring the survivor to him. And like a mad animal, Gilly rushes in with death looming in her eyes. She slices up Jerome with ease and hones in on the remaining fake knight, and with a quick slash, she removes one of his arms. Then, she slices at his chest, giving him a big wound. He tries to retaliate, but is no match for Gilly, and is stomped on the chest, knocking him out. She drags him by the hair to Jin and informs the man, to become a nanny of the Runecandles, you need to be at least a 7-star martial artist. And I definitely take back what I said. Gilly is a beast for real, what the hell? Jin notes that they seriously wanted to assassinate him. They should have brought at least 3 to 4 8-star knights. The man lashes out saying that this is just a warning. The era of Runecandles is coming to an end. Jin actually says that he would like that too, the end of the Runecandle era, and the beginning of the Jin Runecandle era. And that's some savage ass shit. Even the vice captain is taken aback by these words. The man with his last breath yells glory to the great Zipfel. Zipfel. This is the clan of magicians that rules over the other half of the world that directly opposes the Runecandle family. We now get some backstory on the event that led to the Runecandle family banning magic. In that event 1,000 years ago, when the first patriarch died, the Zipfels forced a covenant that forbid the Runecandles from using magic, and due to this, all the Runecandles had their magical abilities sealed. The Zipfels are their mortal enemies, and Jin was wondering who would be this bold, but everything begins to make sense. Jin just tells Gilly to get rid of him somewhere nearby. He isn't even worth questioning. Jin keeps pondering on the situation while the knight is screaming to be killed already. It's only natural for the clan's mortal enemy to try something like this, but it doesn't align with their normal actions. It might be a separate group of extremists, but it also isn't easy to fool a 7-star master like Gilly either. Jin thinks from his past life, an individual comes to mind that we are not yet introduced to. Gilly returns to Jin after completing her task, and Jin calmly thanks her. He calls to the vice captain and thanks him as well for the distraction. If not for him, who knows what could have happened. He will make sure to tell the patriarch of his deed and make sure that he's compensated. The vice captain is taken aback by the sheer poise of this 10-year-old boy, who, by the way, is his first time leaving Storm Castle. How is he so calm in this hectic situation? And the words he spoke earlier don't seem to be just for show. He breaks a sweat and tells his men to be on guard duty until they reach the gate, and even tells them not to curse in front of the young lord. The soldiers are very confused on the order, but I guess they didn't see the murderous 10-year-old just now. Gilly signals a group to leave, and the vice captain questions if it's truly alright to leave the fake's bodies there. Jin says that it will make a good example for those who want to follow. Gilly informs Jin that the next village is about a 2 to 3 hour walk, and Jin adds that he did not think the situation was her fault, even noting that Khan, a 9-star knight, was also fooled. But even after these words, Gilly still apologizes, and Jin just thinks to himself that she will never change. A Runecandle nanny shares the fate of the child that she's in charge of. In Jin's past life, because he was looked down upon, Gilly was also looked down upon, but she never took her anger out on Jin, not even once. And even to the day he was exiled, she was still by his side, and even apologized then that she couldn't serve him properly. Jin doesn't want her to have the same attitude and constantly bow her head down. He wants her to toughen up. As she is apologizing, ready to accept any punishment, Jin yells at her that it wasn't her fault, and this is in order to get over it. She is the only guardian he has right now, and if she continues to get caught up on this matter, she cannot focus on the tasks ahead. Don't make me say it again, Jin says scoldingly. She agrees and thinks to herself how much the young master really cares for her. She doesn't want to cause him any more trouble. She gets a gust of determination and is ready to do her best. The group arrives at an inn in the next village, and as the vice captain is checking them in, Jin starts to think on the situation. He dives deeper into the man that he thinks is involved. The Transformer, Balvard Gaston. Transformation is a dragon skill, but not all of them can transform perfectly. But Bovard has mastered this skill, and in Jin's past life, he has committed many crimes using this skill, bringing unrest into the world. If he's really involved, then the situation will become very bothersome. But for now, Jin can't notice anything too out of the ordinary. In his past life, he also recalls that he got arrested by the time he was 20, so he has about 10 years to make him an ally if he really wants to. But he wonders if he should, since he's currently pointing his blade at him. He needs to investigate the matter further before taking any actions. But after such a long day, Jin seems to be quite tired, and he ends up falling asleep on the bed. Gilly smiles and goes to continue her duties. Some time passes, and as Jin is waking up from his nap, he notices a strange cat making noises outside the window, who gets startled once he is noticed. Jin is lost for words and thinks that this can't be who he thinks it is. He recalls Murakan's words that he will disguise himself and follow closely. He yells at the black dragon for his horrible skills, which he apologizes for, and Jin wonders why he turned into a cat of all things. The two start arguing, and Murakan trips over a floorboard and smacks his head on a wall. Yeah, legendary dragon, alright. Gilly hears the commotion and goes to see what's going on. She sees Murakan grabbing his head from the steep fall and assumes he's after the young lord and prepares her murderous claws to kill him. She goes on top of him, ready to interrogate him, but Jin intervenes. But before he can say anything, Murakan remembers her name, Gilly. This is his strawberry princess who has made him all of those delicious cakes. He grabs her hand and tries to raise her up, but she's just hella confused. Jin just sighs in disbelief at the current situation. Jin formally introduces Murakan as the guardian black dragon, and Gilly, after learning his identity, immediately changes her tone. But Murakan is still in love with his strawberry princess. Gilly bows, and as a loyal servant, she didn't mean any disrespect to the guardian, but Murakan gladly forgives her. She still questions why she's being called by that weird nickname, but Murakan tells her that she's the mastermind behind all those amazing pastries. She immediately understands that Jin was taking all the pies and cakes that she made down to Murakan. Jin breaks down the full situation, and Gilly is ecstatic for him as his nanny. She knew he was gifted, but to have the guardian black dragon supporting him is truly surprising. Jin tells her to keep his secret for the time being, and she agrees, but asks about the noise that she heard earlier. Was this Murakan undoing his transformation? But she was surprised to find out that this noise was from him just falling on his face, and wonders if it's really okay to trust him. Some time passes, and the group arrives at the Middle Kingdom transfer gate. Gilly thanks the vice captain for his service, and he in turn is excited to see the growth of the youngest rune candle. He has a question for Gilly. Why would someone with great skill like her become a nanny for a young rune candle? She looks back at him, saying the reason isn't worth bringing up. Ooh, Gilly backstory? Question mark? The vice captain accepts this answer and bids farewell. Jin and Gilly approach the front desk of this transportation hub, and the man asks them for ID. She pulls out a dagger with the rune candle insignia, and the man immediately escorts them to the special seating area. This place seems to use magic to transport people to different locations. Jin and Gilly sit and talk about the situation with Murakan. Jin tells her not to worry about it too much. He will do his best to hide it, but out of the corner of his eye, he spots a golden dragon emblem, which is the marking of a member from the Zifel clan. This boy with 2 bodyguards sits down right across from Jin. He scoffs at meeting such lowlifes in a place like this, but immediately gets attracted to Murakan's cat. But the cat immediately scratches his hand. Bonus points for Murakan. He screams but doesn't let his bodyguards interfere. It is just a cat after all. Because it wouldn't be wise to pull out a sword in front of a rune candle. Jin just sits there after all these taunts, just casually reading his book, and the young boy can't help but compliment Jin's level-headedness. He stands up and properly introduces himself as Baradin Zipfels and apologizes for his earlier behavior. The name immediately resonates with Jin. This boy would grow up to be a genius mage and someone, as a fellow magician like Jin, would look up to after he was exiled. He's excited that he got to meet him as kids and tells Baradin that he's happy he's not a complete fool, and he was also testing him. Baradin has a nervous sweat and asks on what he means, but Jin elaborates that if his guards did pull their swords, he might have been wandering around this place without any escorts, and maybe lost a finger or two. Baradin nervously just tries to laugh this off, but Jin just gives him a cold stare, telling the boy that he isn't joking. Baradin is shook but offers a piece of advice and tells him not to do this to another member of the Zipfel clan. It might cause some unwanted trouble. And Jin just asks the boy if he really thinks their fathers would move around their armies just because of two kids fighting. Baradin thinks on this a bit and agrees with Jin. It would probably just end with compensation of some sort. He thanks him since it taught him something new and tells Jin he will pay him for that later. Jin, however, is not interested in being paid later and wants to be paid right now. Baradin is excited to hear what this boy could truly want, but is literally turned to stone when Jin just says as payment, just shut up for the rest of the trip. Baradin thinks to himself that Jin will be an interesting man in a few years, and if it wasn't for their clans, he wanted him to be his friend, but gets even more interested in the idea that Jin could be his eternal rival, which makes one of his bodyguards cringe. Jin wonders why he's acting like this after being threatened. Something must be wrong with the Zipfels. The transportation gate arrives and some mysterious blue energy flows from the ceiling before the two vanish. Baradin tells Jin that they should meet again, but Jin just tries to keep his Sasuke personality. Jin is teleported and a butler, Pedro, was awaiting his arrival. And just like that, our protagonist arrives at the Garden of Swords. We get a little bit more knowledge of this place from the story, and apparently only the people with great achievements that contributed to the rune candle name are allowed the opportunity to put their swords on display in this garden. It was once Jin's wish to have his sword put here when he died, but that was when he was weak. He wasn't as perceptive or cunning and thought he could get his dreams just by working hard. But this time, he won't make the same mistakes living in this hellhole. Jin up to Siren and his mother, the Black Panther, rolls a rune candle. She greets her child and Murakhan is intently staring at her, which catches Siren's attention. I don't think he's doing a good job at hiding. Siren asks where he found the cat and Jin says he adopted him. Siren likes the choice of wording in Jin's answer and asks the name of this pet. Jin comes up with one on the fly and says, Nabi. This immediately gets the rage of one of his elder siblings. How dare Jin use a rune candle name on a mere cat? And they even curse his nanny for raising him this way. And hold on, I'm not gonna take no Gilly slander, they gotta take that shit back. Siren tells everyone to chill out and asks Jin why he would give his cat this name. Jin gets all philosophical and says it might just be an animal, but this is the first life that he has adopted. He wanted a name that bared a heavy weight. Siren likes to answer, but asks Jin if he knows the consequences of the name he has chosen. Jin says that he does, and if something ever happens to this cat, he will need to pay the price. Siren laughs and says Jin sure has a talent for making enemies. Look at how your siblings are staring at you. But Jin just says the coldest shit I have ever seen and says he also has a talent for killing his enemies. Whoa, 10-year-old by the way. Siren wears a wide grin and tells everyone to be prepared to handle the youngest rune candle. We time skip to about 4 years later and Jin is now 14 years old and a 2-star knight. His mentor finishes the training and thanks him for the hard work. Jin is confused on why they're only doing morning training, but the mentor continues that today, Lady Luna is scheduled to train with him. His mentor is introduced as Garon, and Jin finally remembers that Luna's training was scheduled for today and goes to eat before meeting her. Garen asks if today, finally, he will eat with his siblings, but Jin isn't interested in his fake family and would rather eat alone. Another student sits beside him named Belop Schmitz and hands the young master some food. Jin thanks him and thinks to himself that soon Belop will be robbed of his right to be a cadet and expelled from the academy. He is just a 13-year-old commoner and regularly chats with Jin, although he is the only one that seems to be talking. Jin tells him that he said the same things he was talking about yesterday and tells the boy that people look down on him because he rambles on all the time. Belop is taken aback and Jin tells him to stand up straight and have some backbone. Take pride that you are a guardian knight cadet in Rune Candle. Belop gets discouraged since his grades are the lowest and he isn't even a 1-star yet, but Jin tells him if he compares himself to other 13-year-olds, he will be considered elite. But Jin just thinks to himself again that no wonder he was kicked out in his past life. He's way too agreeable. But how did this softie go to the Heir clan, another sword master's guild, and become the Empire's loyal hound, and walking the path of a mass murderer? After hearing Belop was part of the Imperial Guard, he was shocked in his past life, but also saddened to hear that he ended up committing suicide. He cannot leave Belop to this fate. Jin offers him some of his food, saying that he's eaten enough, and Belop is ecstatic and happily gulps down the extra food. Jin relates to the boy living an unfortunate life, saying that only once is enough. He's gonna help Belop this time around. The scene shifts to Jin roaming the hallways, noting that his spiritual energy is at 2 stars, his mana is at 4 stars, and his swordsmanship is at 2 stars. Things are going well, and in 2 years he can bump his swordsmanship up to 3 stars. But before he can think about anything else, he arrives at Luna's training session. Oh yes, Big Sis is back. She says that the training will be the same as last time and tells him that even though it's the same, he needs to tackle it differently. Use your mind's eye. Jin doesn't seem to understand this training and wants to figure out a way to get out of this regimen. Jin continues the training on trying to grasp how to use one's mind eye, but Luna tells him that this is the most important trait for wielding a blade and tells him to open his eyes. Jin thinks to himself that this skill is at the stage of enlightenment for 7-star knights and higher, and she's already trying to teach him it as a 2-star knight. The part that is holding Jin up is the fact that the mind's eye looks a lot like scattering aura, but Luna doesn't use aura in this training, so he can't grasp it completely. He tightens his grip and puts some faith in Luna's training. There might be one day where he comes to understand it all. Luna tells him that the training for today is done and he can go back. And even though Jin thinks he isn't making any progress, Luna notes that he's doing far better than she ever expected. Jin has unparalleled focus and posture that is not seen in 2-star knights. In a couple years, he will grow to master this technique. Jin is now seen in a group exercise with Bellup and some other cadets. Garan is leading the kids and tells them that today's spar will be racking up points, and the more points someone can get will be a fast track for them to become a guardian knight. He looks towards Jin and says today is important for him as well. His mother said if he can defeat the top 10 cadets, he can move up to the intermediate classes next year. Jin is happy with this news, but just looks towards Bella, who is visibly nervous. Jin just sighs, saying that he's gonna make sure he's not exiled, but the boy does need to show some confidence. Garan signals for the start of the sparring exercise and tells the group that the 10 best among them will challenge Jin. Training begins and Jin looks over at them. None of them are half bad. They aren't cadets for nothing. We shift towards the end of the training and Garan selects the 10 best. Jin quickly dispatches the first combatant and thinks the record for this is 8 combatants in a row, so adding 2 more shouldn't be an issue. He also notes that the one he should look out for most is Misa Milkano, who is also elite and is recognized from his past life. The spar with her will be the most important one for today. They smile at each other ready to engage and Misa leaps at Jin with the overhead slash, which is blocked. Jin notes that she has gotten stronger, but is still manageable. The only issue is he needs to fight 8 more people. If that's the case, he needs to end this quickly. He fires a barrage of strikes that takes Misa off guard. This isn't a normal combination that Jin usually uses, and he's using a barrage of simple strikes rather than complex combinations. Misa feels insulted by this and feels that she's being looked down upon. She just yells back at Jin saying if that's how he wants to play and starts swinging back. She wants to surpass the young master and prepares another overhead strike, but this was all Jin's plan. He baited her in, and in a quick motion he breaks her sword. He thanks her for the great fight and notes that his own sword doesn't seem to be usable anymore. She finally understands that all of those blows they exchanged, Jin was hitting the exact same spot, and she only lost because she lacked accuracy. She's a little demoralized but vows to get stronger. Jin thinks to himself as he's fighting the other cadets that usually fighting 10 would be quite challenging, but after that display with Misa, they all are coming into the fight with less morale. Jin quickly dispatches all 10 combatants and Garan congratulates him on the achievement and tells him lunch is in 10 minutes. But before this, Jin tells Garan he has one more person to spar and calls out to Bellup. Bellup is shocked and nervously shaking, but Jin tells his ass to get up here. He won't survive in Rune Candle acting like this. Come up and fight me. Bellup approaches but is wondering why the young master wants to fight him. Is it because he's weak or is he trying to help his confidence? Jin tells Bellup that he's quite tired after fighting 10 cadets, but that doesn't matter. I'm still stronger than you. That's why I wanted to fight. He charges in with reckless abandon and strikes at Bellup, which he barely manages to block. Bellup is trying to understand what is going on, but Jin lets off a flurry of strikes and tells Bellup that he's blocking well. Bellup sends Jin back and Jin flings some debris into his eyes and quickly goes for a leg sweep. Bellup is hopelessly defeated and whimpers in front of Jin, asking him why he is doing this. Jin asks Bellup if he thinks this is really just a duel. He asks to fight him. In this moment, he could have killed him and tells the boy to get back up. He's only going to show him mercy once. Bellup wipes away his tears and a mysterious energy fills around his weapon. Everyone is shocked to see that Bellup is using aura. Misa tells the instructor to stop the duel. Jin might be in danger, but Jin stops everyone and tells them to keep whatever they see here today a secret. Bellup asks if this is what he really wanted, and Jin tells the boy not to hold back. Bellup grits his teeth and yells at Jin, telling him if he wanted to fight him, he should have did it before fighting 10 people, and lunges at him. The strike is heavy and Jin's sword breaks. Jin is even surprised because he didn't expect Belop to be at this level. He always knew he was skilled, and in every other duel that he's had, he's analyzed his opponents and made sure to lose by a small margin. But to think he could already use aura is incredible. Belop rushes back in for another strike towards Jin's broken sword, but Jin applies a little bit of that spiritual energy and meets the slash. This overpowers Belop and leaves his hands shaking from the strike. Jin uses the opportunity to get behind the boy and put him in a chokehold. Belop taps and asks Jin why he stopped. He thought this was a real fight. Does Jin just like to toy with people? He declines and tells Belop it hurts him to antagonize him this way, which makes Belop even more confused. Then why did he put him through all of this? He tightens his grip and asks why he's being tortured like this. Jin grabs Belop's sword and tells him he is weaker than him, but kinder. And when he shows that kindness, he is strong. But he can't survive here just being nice. Belop, I wish that you become strong enough to protect that kind heart, and apologizes to him for being harsh. Everyone is touched by this display, and the maids arrive with the food. Belop wipes away his teary eyes and tells Jin that he should get his food, but Jin just invites him to come eat with him again in this touching moment. Is anyone else crying right now? Is it just me? The next panel takes us to a mysterious cave surrounded by weird beasts, and Khan informs the patriarch about Jin's actions. And hold up a second, why are you just chilling in this evil ass place? What is wrong with you? Anyways, Siren just laughs it off, and it seems his interest in Jin just keeps growing. He mentioned that walking the path of a dominator, Jin will still look after the weak, but time will tell if that creed has any worth, and tells Khan to give Jin his first mission. The next panel shows that on January 1795, Jin was recognized as a 3-star knight around 15 years of age. And around this time, some cadets would go home for break, while others train even harder. And once you get into the intermediate class, you can use real swords instead of wooden ones. So a few students order their personal swords. Jin also has to find a suitable sword in the clan's armory. He's sitting beside Lady Luna and she tells him to leave the sword picking to her. But that was a month ago, and Jin is a little worried. But she soon appears with this bleach-looking monstrosity and tells Jin that she invented this axe sword when she was his age. But Jin doesn't seem to be feeling it at all, and Luna gets a little sad and pretends that it was just a joke. But Jin sees right through it. She sighs and goes to show him a different sword. She has thought long and hard, and only one sword is for Jin. Since he picked the Barasada at the selection ritual, this one might be the best fit, and hands him a sword that even gets his attention. It's the brother sword to the Barasada that the first patriarch used, the Bradamante. Jin is impressed and so excited at his new sword. This is something that he would do anything to obtain. To think Luna would pick it for him. The Bradamante and Barasada are swords with the most affinity to spiritual energy. If he picked it himself, he would have a problem with the other family members who also want this sword. But for Luna to pick it for him means a lot. He doesn't know how to repay her, but Luna says it won't be necessary, but feels Jin is uneasy around her, and that makes her sad. Hey man, tell your big sis you love her. Hell. Jin says that that's not the case, but Luna says he already caused her sadness and he'll have to mend her big sister's heart. She tells him to close his eyes and start the training. Jin already knows what she will say, but Luna grabs his shoulder and tells him to engrave this into his heart. While his other siblings constantly fight to crush each other, remember that you do have siblings that love you. Please, don't make your big sister sad. And Jin quickly apologizes. She only wants him not to be lonely, like she felt growing up, and urges him to get back to training. After it's done, Jin quickly rushes back into his room to show Murakhan his new sword. But without even looking, the dragon tells him to put it back because he still lacks the spiritual energy to control it. Jin needs to be at least 3 stars in spiritual energy to use it, which frustrates him since he feels so close to breaking this 2-star barrier. As Jin is rambling on, Murakhan gets enraged at the boy's cocky attitude. These are not swords that anyone can use. 3 stars is just the minimum. Just use it as a regular sword until you're at least 5 stars. Jin isn't pleased with this since he isn't patient and asks Murakhan what if he becomes 5 stars by the end of the year. This further enrages him and he grabs Jin by the head, telling him that that's impossible. He's only saying these things because he cares about Jin. But suddenly, Jin snatches the book that Murakhan was reading, but Gilly interrupts the two and tells Jin that Garon is looking for him. Usually he would come in person, but he sent Gilly saying that it's urgent and Jin needs to come to meet him. The instructor assigned Jin to his first mission and he will leave as soon as the break is over. Jin thinks that this is around the time he should expect this since he is a 3-star swordsman after all. He tells the two to wait for him patiently and he'll be right back. He heads into the room with the other cadets and Garon welcomes him. This mission has been assigned to Jin and the 9 beginner cadets. They will be split into 2 groups and it's noted that it's a scouting mission around the southern border of the Zan Kingdom. The marked area is close to the territory of the White Wolf tribe. Jin thinks that this isn't a place to send beginner cadets. Something seems off, and on top of everything, it's been assigned much sooner than usual. This is a difficult first mission. It's almost like the patriarch did this on purpose, but Jin has a glare of determination. He will show his father what he's made of. His creed will never waver. 4 days later, the group arrives, and the main goal of this mission is to look for the heir to the San Kingdom's Bill clan, Sember Bill. Once the group arrives, they will set up camp and split into teams to commence a search. And once a day, each team will send one man back to give a status report. Those are the orders Jin gave at the start of the mission, and Jin is seen conversing with Bellop on the wildlife that they encountered. And Jin orders the cadet to go towards the 13th zone. He then orders the rest of the cadets present to go as well, and thinks to himself that something has to be off. This mission is going too smoothly. Is Jin missing something? The local beastmen mistake the group for beggars and offer them some fish. And look at these cute guys. Jin accepts and vows to return the favor. As Jin is pondering his next move, Bellop returns with some news. The second squad was ambushed. Jin asks for details, but the squad dispersed and retreated. They were targeted by humans, roughly 3. Jin analyzes the situation, and there might be more than just 3 combatants. He calls for Eddington and David and tells them to go look for the enemy and to report back, but to not engage. Jin rushes to the site of the ambush, trying to make sense of what's going on. Why would they attack the 2nd Division instead of the 1st, where Jin is located? Whoever it is, Jin will make them pay. They arrive at some human footprints with a blood trail, and Bellop assumes that the 2nd Division is dead. But Jin tells him not to get too hasty. There's no sign of corpses or flesh. Looking at the footsteps, Jin concludes that it's only one ambusher. One of his cadets signals him that she found some used bandages. Jin puts the pieces together, and the 2nd Division stopped here to check wounds, but immediately came aware of a second ambush, and fled in a different direction. Jin sends 2 of his cadets back and calls Bellop to come with him. They approach some members of the 2nd Division fighting some strange soldiers. Jin hides behind a tree looking over the battle. He signals Bellop to strike on his command, and prepares a dagger with spiritual energy. Doing this increases the offensive power of his dagger, and he launches one into the neck of one of the soldiers, and Bellop dashes on top of the other, slicing his back. He asks if his men are alright, and they said the enemy has taken Misa. He orders them to retreat and recover, and the man on the floor is still alive and begging for his life. Jin thinks that he's somewhat sane. It's unlikely that they are related to Zipfel. He gives this man 2 choices. Give me all the details of this ambush, and only one of your men will die here today. Keep your mouth shut, and all of your comrades will die, Jin says with a menacing look. He swears the truth of his words on his clan's name. The man yields, not being able to do much else, and tells Jin that he's part of the revolutionary army, known as Kinslow. Jin immediately recalls his past life. This was a terrorist organization that was still active up until his death. The story of them in that time was this group killed Zan's emperor and became known as pillagers and murderers. In their name, they claim that they're revolutionary, but their interpretation of it is quite extreme. Jin asks the man why he attacked Rune Candle cadets, but he responds saying that he's too low ranked to know. But he doesn't have info on the main camp, but the camp he is stationed at isn't far, and there is about 20 4-star knights and magicians. Jin asks one more question. Why did they take Misa? The man says his orders were to capture all female cadets. This was needed for their declaration of revolution. After hearing these words, Jin is enraged and kills the man. He asks how long ago Misa was captured. Jin will go further, but tells his other cadets to go back and recover, and send word to the main house. The cadets try and plead with Jin that this is too dangerous. How can he possibly handle 20 4-star knights and magicians? Jin agrees that it isn't ideal, but a son of Runecandle cannot sit idly by in this situation, and tells the group that he will not take no for an answer, and puts Bellop in charge. He rushes into the forest, hoping to save his friend. Jin has been running for hours, thinking on the situation. How can he deal with the enemy numbers? Even though he is a 3-star swordsman, 4-star mana, and 3-star spiritual energy, and he has been growing fast. But it still isn't feasible for Jin to take out 20 of them at once. Rescuing Misa is his only objective. He needs to fight as little as possible. He prepares a spell, Seismic Sense, and dual casts Wind Pursuit. The combination of these 2 spells highlights a path for Jin to take that follows the enemy movements. As he is dashing in, he is ambushed and a couple spears are hurled at him. 2 men jump out of the woodwork, but since no one is around, Jin can start using his magic. This catches the men off guard, and the mage in the back prepares a fire spell and yells for his men to step back. But Jin throws a spell of his own to nullify its activation. The mage switches to an ice spell, but Jin rushes in. His necklace activates, nullifying this spell as well, and he swiftly kills the mage. He deals with the ambushers and curses these bastards who took Mesa. They're looking down on the cadets, not even trying to hide their tracks. The Kinslow organization has a clear chain of command, so it's likely all the things that they plunder are distributed by ranks, and the low-ranked soldiers wouldn't dare touch things that are requested from the higher-ups. So Jin has one chance to save his friend. He's nearing the camp and will need a distraction, so he prepares a fire spell in his hand and sets the forest ablaze, then prepares another magic circle pointing towards the sky. The men at the camp see a large wildfire and immediately run to try to put it out, but they fell for the trap. The leader of the group curses his useless soldiers, and Jin notices that this must be their leader, and he's the only smart one among them because he recognizes that this is a trap. But before he can tell his bozo soldiers, Jin stands menacingly behind him. He dispatches the leader and finds a key on his corpse. He goes into the main building and through a basement entrance finds Misa. As soon as he unties her, however, some noise is heard in the building. Misa tells him if the situation becomes too dire, please, Jin, save yourself. But Jin doesn't want to hear any of this. They exit the building and they see enemy soldiers dead on the floor with claw marks around their bodies. This must be the work of the beastmen of the White Wolf tribe, and we get a close-up of an absolutely terrifying wolf soldier. Misa tries to buy them some time, but Jin whacks her on the head, knocking her out. The Wolfman curses the useless humans who can't even put out a fire and asks if Jin was the one who did this. He says that he did and he is the son of Siren and asks the name of the Wolfman, but the beast just smiles after hearing the name Rune Candle. Before we get into the fight, we see a flashback to a few days before, watching some of Jin's independent training with spiritual energy. As he's gathering the energy around his sword, Murakhan appears out of nowhere and dropkicks Jin, asking what the hell he thinks he's doing. Does he want to die? Why is he not following his directions? He told Jin not to activate the sword. It's still too early. Ooh, a little foreshadowing here. The first boss battle, eh? I'm excited. The Wolfman is also excited for his prey to be an offspring of Rune Candle and introduces himself as Quasito Turka, a warrior of the White Wolf tribe. This tribe is said to be bred for battle and slaughter. An average adult wolf's power is about 6 stars. They are famous for hating the rune candles because the first patriarch killed the great White Wolf, Javier, who is worshipped as a god. Jin knows it's impossible to run now. He has to confront this beast. The Wolfman yells powerfully and wants to offer Jin's corpse as a tribute to Javier. He asks Jin if he will fight honorably or die while running. Jin coats his sword with a white essence and vows to fight with honor. The beast lunges in hammer in hand and hits the ground with an intense force, leaving a crater behind. Jin steps back, but the wolf is hot on his trail, preparing another swing that Jin is not ready for. He barely blocks the strike with his sword and parries the strike back. He thinks to himself that he has a lot of tricks that he can use that aren't typical to rune candles. The pendant, magic, and his spiritual energy. He thinks the pendant is too valuable to use in a situation like this. If he can't deal with this 6-star wolf, he is not worthy to achieve his ambitions. Also, his 4-star magic won't be strong enough to pierce the wolf's skin, and if people come to investigate, they're gonna see signs of magic. This only leaves one option: spiritual energy. Jin blocks another heavy blow from the wolf and thinks to himself that the only way he can win is to activate his sword. The wolf admires the rune candle sword, but it doesn't quite match the black sword symbol, but it's sturdier than it looks. The wolf sends another overhead smash at Jin, and Jin tries to put all of his power into activating his sword. He's had a taste of it before, but just as the wolf is coming down on him, ready to end his life, a darkness fills the area, robbing the vision from the wolf. He is unable to see, and in this moment of hesitation, Jin vertically slashes his opponent. Up until now, Jin never knew why his clan's emblem is a black, but now his sword is enveloped in spiritual energy, which has in turn turned it black, so he finally understands. The wolfman falls to his knees defeated, still not grasping what just happened. Jin can't stand up straight after such an intense fight, but all of a sudden, the backlash from the power erupts in his body, causing him immense pain. All of the negative emotions he's felt from his past life flood into his mind. An image of Murakhan appears in front of him, saying that he tried to warn him. If a brat like you awakens the sword without enough spiritual energy, you will suffer from spiritual energy congestion. He tells Jin to wake up and he better not lose his mind now. He has more things to accomplish. Jin collects himself and casts spiritual energy release, creating a small circle around him. It's hard to breathe, but he needs to focus, and he calms his nerves. He begins to draw in all the surrounding shadows, and he succeeded. He gasps for air, wondering how he made it out of that. So this is what Murakhan was talking about. He feels off, like his body is overflowing with spiritual energy. He begins to stand up, and there isn't any more problems, so he should take Misa and go. But notices another person hiding behind the rubble, asking to be spared. Jin asks him if he's part of the Kinslow group, but this is actually the person that Jin was sent to look for, Bill, from the Zan Kingdom. This is just textbook MC timing, I swear. Jin explains the situation and the man is relieved that he's finally being saved. And this whole time, Jin totally forgot about the guy. What the hell? This man will never forget Jin's kindness for saving him. If Misa wasn't kidnapped, he would have never found you, bro, but he doesn't need to know that. Jin asks how the man was kidnapped in the first place, and he said he followed his dead lover, who died 2 years ago. But for some reason, he saw her as if she was still here, and even heard the sound of her voice. Jin is concerned by this news, and it was probably the work of the Gaston fellow that we were introduced to some chapters before, and his transformation abilities. Sember was probably kidnapped for money, but what is the connection here? This is the second time Jin has run into this man since he left Storm Castle. Something is not right, and he needs to get to the bottom of this, and see what kind of person Gaston really is. Sember thanks Jin for listening to his sad tale, but Jin is only thinking to himself on how he will beat the Transformer. Sember is crying since he finds out Jin actually called the reinforcements for him, and he will forever remember this meeting, and if Jin needs anything, please let him know. Some time passes and Jin returns to the Garden of Swords. He greets Gilly, who is ecstatic that he did so well on his first mission, but out of the corner of his eye, he spots Murakan's dark expression in his cat form. He knows he didn't listen to his words yet again, and the cat Murakan bites his hand, causing Jin to launch him into a nearby window. Jin asks what the hell that was for, but Murakan told him repeatedly not to use shadow energy release. How many times does he have to tell him? He transforms into his base form and starts swinging it around. Murakan demands to know why Gilly forgot the strawberry pie, and Murakan wants smoke today, and also asks Jin why he risked his life instead of using the pendant, but Jin tells him that the pendant was too valuable to use in that situation. This just infuriates Murakan even more, at the fact that he risked his own life rather than using a pendant. Jin wants to know how Murakan knows he released the sword's power, and Murakan says it's obvious from the fact that he's now a 4-star spiritual energy user. Jin thinks that that must be the reason he was overflowing with energy, but to think he went up a full star. Murakan explains that there was 11 people who have gone through the same shadow energy intoxication, and 9 of them have died, so Jin is among the 2 to ever survive. Jin asks if the other one is Tamar. Murakan shakes his head, saying that even he would have died from that. You see, Murakan was the only other person to survive. This takes Jin aback. Jin waves his hand, so technically, him and Murakan are the same, so he tells him not to worry about it. He doesn't want to experience that pain ever again. Murakan wants Jin to be punished, but Gilly quickly moves to prepare the young master's meal, which makes the dragon incredibly jealous. We shift to a scene of 2 people talking of Jin's accomplishments, doubting if he indeed killed a white wolf, even thinking that it was an imposter. And Rune Candle says it could be possible if the white wolf was one of the weaker members of the species. The woman she is talking to is Mew, and she still can't fathom that a 3-star knight bested a 6-star wolf. Our favorite twins, Haytona and Daytona, enter the room, and Jin killing the white wolf is believable to them since they know what kind of demon Jin really is. But this is not why they came here. Tomorrow, Jin will be joining the intermediate class, and if he does, it will be the end of the twins, as they think of an image of a devilish Jin. Anne tells the boys to be honest with their sisters. Are they really that scared of Jin? They try to deny it, but Anne gets serious and with killing intent tells them not to lie. Anne asks how, as a big sister, she can help. The sisters offer 2 of their best slaves to the twins, telling them that they will be quite useful. We shift to the intermediate class and the man goes over the rules. There are 3 to 5 star knights here, some of which are brand new, and some who have been here for 10 years. Mew and Anne would always take a few cadets out of each class and treat them like slaves. They gave the twins 2 of these slaves to put Jin in his place, but tell them that they better be successful. Jin finishes washing up, thinking about his class tomorrow. If he wants to use shadow energy properly, he needs to get to 6-star swordsmanship in the next 5 years. 6 stars means that one is a remarkable swordsman. 7 means that one's a master. And if one can reach 8 stars, they become a regularity. With over 2 billion people in the world, there isn't even 100 people who have reached 9 or 10 stars. And only one has ever surpassed 10 stars, the Genesis Knight, Siren. Jin vows that he will surpass the Genesis Knight in this life. But for now, he has some problems to deal with, especially since the Tona brothers are in his next class. And he knows from experience that his brothers will turn on each other and need to be in check. The only way for Jin to survive this class is through brute strength. He needs to dominate the intermediate class. The next panel shows Jin entering his mother's quarters, asking why she has called for him. She congratulates him for completing his mission with amazing results, but according to her reports, Jin has declined the suggestion to change rooms. She wants Jin to use the room for the future patriarch that has been empty since Joshua has used it. She wants Jin to use it now, but he refuses. It might have great importance, but at the end of the day, it's still just a room. room, and the implications will be a hassle. Rosa taps the desk and tells Jin that he can leave, but thinks to herself that she can't tell whether Jin has no greed or is the greediest of them all. The moment he would have accepted that room, all the swords of his siblings would have been pointed towards him, but he's still a target no matter what. He must realize that this was a test. Jin meets up with his cadets and tells them tomorrow he will leave for the intermediate class, and these cadets will be seen as Jin's faction. They might experience taunts and torments, but worry not. Jin will never let any of this slide, and those things will cease once he conquers the class. Until then, you guys must stick together in groups of 3 and refrain from going out alone. The group accepts the order and we shift to the intermediate class. The teacher is Candle, an 8-star knight, and Siren's little brother, who looks pretty sick mind you. He informs the group on the new transfers they have and the 27 people who dropped out. Except for murder, any situation or incident should be solved amongst yourselves. He yells for the seniors to tell the newbies what they always preach, and they scream, "Rune candles do not need the weak." They chant this several times, and Jin notices the tone is supposed to demoralize the new recruits. He spots the Toner brothers and notices the cadet near them that looks like a veteran. There's no way they could have recruited him themselves. He wonders if Mew and Anne are behind this. Jin knows that they want to break him as a newbie, but he has no intention of going out like that, and walks towards the Toner brothers, basically making them shit themselves. He aims a slash of his sword towards the veteran cadet, slicing his arm off, putting him on the floor in agony. He thinks to himself that the ones who should be hazed is them, not me. He tells someone to call a medic and sheathes his sword. What the hell kind of savage move was that? Daytona yells why the hell Jin just did that. Is he insane? But Jin ignores him and asks the cadet for his name, grabbing his now stump of an arm. He says Kajin Romello. Jin asks if he knows why he removed his arm. Daytona is annoyed that he's being ignored, and Jin looks towards them coldly, telling the boys not to interrupt his conversation. If they want a duel, they will have one later. Daytona yells and accidentally reveals that Kajin was one of his cadets, but immediately tries to cover his mouth, but the information is already slipped. My cadet, you say? So this man is part of your faction, big brother? The surrounding cadets realize that this is a battle between brothers, as Jin looks the two down. Zed looks over and smiles, understanding the situation. While trying to teach Jin a lesson, they instead were taught the lesson. Due to their words, Kajin has become a part of the Tona's faction, publicly. So what Jin did was not a random attack, sort of justifying his action. But instead of partaking in the battle for hegemony, he did something really bold. Jin yells for all the cadets' attention. You all may point your swords at me, or even try to ambush me. But know this, the moment you show hostility, I will not hesitate to cut you down, as I just did. Zed calls out for Jin and asks him if he thinks he can behave this way in front of him, but Jin just says he does. Zed asks how come, and Jin replies saying that he didn't just challenge the Tona brothers, but he also challenges Zed. Zed prepares his blade full of aura, interested in what Jin just said, and asks the boy to explain himself, and depending on his answer, he might have his head removed. Zed is excited at the proclamation Jin has made, and tells him, based on his response, he might just remove his head. Jin just calmly states that due to Zed's hazing, he took it as an act of violence. Zed lets out a powerful aura towards Jin, but he stands there firm with a cold stare. Zed wonders why Jin got so worked up over this, and he should have brought his sword towards him instead of Kajin. But Jin just says truthfully, he can't beat Zed just yet, but he thought if he could, that's exactly what he would have done. Zed releases the grip on his aura sword, saying Jin must not value his life, or is just too confident that he's his father's favorite. But Jin replies that a true rune candle wouldn't just sit back and take disrespect, just because an opponent is stronger. You can lose your life in an instant, but honor is forever. Zed smiles and laughs at this answer, and the response makes Jin's uncle so happy. He says Jin is truly worthy of the rune candle name, and tells the cadets not to forget what happened today. This is what it's like to be in a family of sword fanatics, and then dismisses the class. Jin looks towards the twins and offers them a piece of advice. You two might be scared of your older siblings now, but what about the future? Don't hide under them and focus on what is in front of you, and think about your own futures for once. Jin returns to his room and is greeted by Murakami and Gilly. He informs them on what transpired outside in training today and how he started the battle for hegemony. He also tells them that he thinks his sisters, Mew and Anne, are backing the twins, and due to his little stunt today, they might be angry on how it all played out. Jin saw through their little plan from the start, since there's no way the twins would have had a 5-star knight in their faction, since typically, people only have members in their faction that are weaker than themselves. but Gilly is still worried that the older siblings are intervening so soon, since it's an unspoken rule that flag bearers fight only other flag bearers, yet they're already teaming up on Jin. On the other hand, Jin is actually happy at the turn of events, because now they're under fire from their actions, and there's less reasons they will come after him, at least publicly. They could still, however, use their authority to mess with Jin's underlings and missions, but Jin plans to take only solo missions from now on, so there won't be a chance of people coming along keeping an eye on him. Gilly just smiles, seeing how well thought out Jin's plans actually are. Jin says that if he goes on solo missions, no one will mind if he takes his cat with him, right? But it won't be for the next mission though, he has some things to do. Huracan is curious on what these things actually are, but Jin doesn't divulge, and tells the two to stay low for the time being. Some time passes and Jin and the twins are training under Zed directly, in a special class only available to Runecandle siblings. Zed is standing over a table with a stone ball, and the twins' faces seem to be battered, signaling the older sisters might have gotten a little angry. Zed continues his dialogue on the family swordsmanship, telling them how it's destructive and focuses on power. There's no one way to learn this said power, and each member of the family has their own interpretation, but there are secret aura techniques that can be learned after becoming a flag bearer. He asks the boys if they know a difference between rune candles and other martial artists. Jin raises his hand with the answer. The difference is the unique physical abilities and talent the bloodline possesses. Zed nods in approval. Being a rune candle means that you're of a blessed bloodline that has a natural affinity for the sword, with impressive physical attributes, which normally surpasses regular humans. Even if there's slight deviations, the three boys are still way above average, and what you have learned so far has been simple and easy. But now, the real test begins. He hands each of the boys a steel ball, and Jin holds one in his hands, but notices that there's something inside, some fragments maybe. Zed continues that this is called a clear rock. Once you hit it, you hear a ring-like sound. He will demonstrate the sound and whacks the ball with his sword, creating a screeching-like sound, causing discomfort in all the boys' ears. He hits it again, this time down the middle, and a smooth chime is heard, calming everyone down. Zed tells the boys that the rock makes a different sound based on the strength used to hit it. If your strike isn't hard enough, it will make an unclear screeching sound, but if you hit it just right, you can hear a beautiful melody. Jin thinks the meaning behind this training is strength control and mental fortitude, because rune candles on average are stronger than most, so this is an excellent exercise for them. Jin thinks, however, this challenge is too easy and way too safe to be a rune candle training method, and right on cue, while he's talking ship, Zed tells the boys that he will show them the third sound. Third sound? Jin recalls what he felt inside the ball, those pieces of fragments, and he immediately realizes what is about to happen and runs towards the twins, telling them to get down. Zed smacks the ball and a huge explosion occurs. Jin and the twins turn to see what in the world just happened. Zed informs the group that if you strike hard enough, it can create an explosion. Zed continues saying that these three are the first ones since Luna not to get caught up in the explosion. Zed tells them that all of their siblings went through this same trial, and honestly, he never thought anyone else would get through the demonstration unharmed ever again. Jin raises his hand, asking how Luna avoided it, but Zed says if he tells him, it might demoralize him. You see, Luna didn't even try to evade the blast. In fact, she didn't even see it coming, but she is so strong that the explosion just didn't do anything to her, which shocks the three brothers. But now it's time to strike the ball. They will not stop until they can create the clear sound at will. Some time passes and we shift to the OP in question, Luna, getting some tea from her nanny. The nanny gives details on the task Luna put her on to find information on who tried to assassinate Jin. She says that she suspects it might have been Mew and Anne, considering how they're getting involved with him already. Luna takes her glass and thinks how foolish they can be, even sending someone to storm castle while they themselves are in a succession war. If their father heard of such a plan, they could lose their lives. The nanny asks Luna what the chances are that Jin is lying or not seeing the whole picture clearly. Luna says that Jin was 10 at the time and this could be possible, but doesn't feel that he would lie to her. And the atmosphere around the boy, even at a young age, led her to believe that his life was in danger. The nanny asks if she should keep her investigation up on the two sisters, and Luna tells her to do so. But the nanny is worried that Luna will fight with her siblings once again. But Luna dismisses this. She is already 30. Isn't it too late to worry about her? She changes the topic to Jin and wonders how his training is going. She is sure the results of her own training with him regarding the mind's eye should soon come into effect, so she's sure he's gonna be alright. The panel shifts to the next day, and about 4 hours passed in afternoon training. Jin is sweating profusely, and he notes that this is the hardest training he has ever done. Zed signals the boys to take a 5-minute break, and Jin thinks on the situation. He thought this training was to control strength and sharpen one's mind, but he was wrong. First, he needs to increase his destructive power with his aura. His uncle was able to blow up the steel ball without using aura, but Jin isn't even close to having the same bare strength, so he needs to bridge the gap using aura. First, he needs to find the right application of aura to make the clear sound. Then, he will break the stone. Jin thinks that even the Tona twins did this in their past life, so surely he is capable. Zed looks towards the Tona twins struggling, but notices that Jin is truly special, and he might even break Luna's record. Nighttime comes, and Zed tells Jin to remind his brothers not to come to training if they plan on collapsing. Zed thinks the Tona brothers lasted longer than he expected, but Jin is truly a prodigy, and curses his older brother Siren. If only Jin was born 10 years ago, he would have had full control of the family by now. What a shame this is. Damn, I love how Zed's hyping up our boy. About 1 month passes, and the intermediate class has been given their first mission. All of the cadets in the list step forward. The man begins going down the list, assigning all the cadets to their missions. Finally, on the last page, he gets to Jin's cadets and assigns them the mission to deal with 25 orcs. They all look around, and this seems to be a mission way harder than the ones assigned around them. Even the surrounding cadets are questioning how these newbies were stuck with this kind of work. Kajin and his little gang starts laughing at our boy's cadets, but he better chill unless he wants to lose both his arms this time. The group is getting insulted, and one of the men in Jin's cadets tries to say something, but Misa grabs him, telling him to shut up. This is Rune Candle. They must carry out their mission perfectly. This is the only way to get back at these losers. We shift back to the siblings training, and we see them still toiling away, smacking the steel ball. Heitona accidentally gets sent into space by hitting the ball so hard, and accidentally hits Jin with the fragments. Jin says it's fine since it's just practice, but keep that shit away from him. They've been doing this for a month, and each of the boys are now able to blow the balls up. Even though Jin thought it would take the twins a little bit longer. As Jin was hit by Heitona, he had a strange sensation. While the fragments were flying at him, almost like an arrow, the trajectory was so precise. If those fragments came flying again, Jin could definitely avoid them with ease. Is this a sensation he felt? The result of the training with Luna? Jin wants to break the steel ball and try to get this sensation again, but is interrupted by Zed informing him that they have been assigned to a mission. The twins are in despair, learning that they need to go on a mission that's in the Behement Empire. They are attending a banquet, so it's more of an event than a mission. Zed scolds the boys, and how dare they sigh after being assigned a mission. If they do this again, he will surely take their lives. Jin thinks that his older sisters must be behind this to send the twins to that faraway empire. Zed tells the boys that this will be a big event, so they need to be on their best behavior. As for Jin, the mission assigned to him is a VIP assassination. The target is the Talaris' lover of the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace is a huge tower in the center of the Western Sea. The master of this palace is referred to as the tower's owner. The 51st master is Talaris Andorma, nicknamed the Spider of the Abyss, and is famous for being merciless towards those who touch her boyfriends. A little weird fact, but whatever. Zed shows Jin the target, Alcaro Chenderer. Guy has a hard name to pronounce, I'm sorry. Currently, he is being escorted to the Ice Palace, and right now, he is in the lawless zone of Mamet. After hearing the name Mamet, the twins begin to argue if Jin is even qualified to go. Yeah, he is. He got that plot armor. Apparently, the clients of this job is the Chenderer family. They basically are having their own child killed. They told the Rune Candles that they have tried to bring him back, but in vain, and decided it would be better for him to die than to sully the family's name. And I thought my family was strict. Zed asks Jin if he's up to the task, which he accepts confidently. Zed is surprised by Jin's poise, especially knowing the dangers of the Ice Palace and the Mamet. Yet Jin didn't even bat an eye. Zed informs the group that they have 2 days to prepare. The twins still worry about Jin, and they tell him if anyone bothers him, just mention the Rune Candle name. There should be nothing to worry about. Jin asks the two if they're really worried about him, and they decline since they want to be the ones that beat Jin. He can't lose to anyone else. Jin smiles and tells the two to make a decision. As he is saying this, he quickly slices the ball, making the perfect melody, signaling that he's completed the training. He continues his thought, telling the twins to choose on who they fear more, Jin or their elder sisters. As Jin walks away, Zed tells the boys to think about what Jin said. They are not strong enough to face him. 2 days later, all of Jin's cadets are here to see him off. One of them noticed that Jin's hair color has changed, but Jin tells him that he did this to be in a disguise. He doesn't want to reveal his identity. Since Jin's mission is in a different location, he will have to use a different teleportation gate. Jin asks Misa about their mission, and it's to subjugate orcs, right? Why are you guys looking so down? The group seems to have low morale, and death must be imminent. Jin tells them to stop worrying, it's not going to help. Focus on the task at hand. This won't be the last time he sees his cadets. He will definitely be returning, no matter how hard the task is. This seems to give the group a little bit of morale, and Jin asks Gilly to look after them, and tells Murakhan not to get caught once he's gone. Gilly is still worried about Jin's dangerous mission, which should be higher than his pay grade. But Jin just calmly tells her that this is going to be like a vacation for him, and he'll even bring her back a souvenir. Jin arrives at the lawless zone, a land where all the scum of the earth gathers. A bulky man bursts into the room, asking why these newcomers haven't greeted him yet. But the men around just laugh and joke around, and everyone raises a beer. The bulky man turns to see Jin entering the tavern with his cold blue eyes. The group is confused because they actually do have a new guy. Jin flicks a coin asking for some water and some food. The men are shocked at the balls on this guy to walk in here like that. Thonk, the big guy from before, asks if Jin is a renegade 9-star knight or something. If he's new to Mammoth, he needs to learn the rules, and tells Jin to get on his knees. Jin doesn't have time for these games and puts a dagger to the man's throat, killing him instantly, but never breaking his stare with the bartender, asking for his food and drink. Everyone looks shocked for a second, but bursts out in laughter at Thonk's death. Jin silently looks at the crowd and thinks on his master's words. This place is full of crooks, and in order to be accepted, you need to demonstrate that no one can mess with you. Jin thanks his master, and since she has been a great help in his past life, and even now, he wants to repay her one day. The bartender hands Jin some food, assuring him that it's not poison, since poison is forbidden in the town. But the town's literally lawless, and Jin just stabbed the guy in the mouth. I don't know how that works, but the bartender continues to ask Jin if he has any family here, and Jin says that he doesn't. The man asks if he's looking for drugs, women, weapons perhaps, or are you looking for someone? Jin responds saying the latter, and asks the man if he heard the name Hister. The bartender hasn't, and Jin just asks him to recommend a place to sleep. The man tells him to go to an inn called Moonlit Well on the west side of the city. It's a place where the kings of Mammoth stay. The scene shifts to Jin arriving at this so-called inn, recollecting that Alcaro is a spoiled son of the count, never knowing the true hardships of life. A typical scumbag who indulges in pleasure, and the only reason someone like this is in Mammoth is to get the attention of the master of the hidden palace, who is currently occupied with her lover. Jin remembers his conversation with the bartender. There is a new drug going around Mammoth, so there's a good chance that the man Jin is looking for is high in his room. But he still has bodyguards, so he's gonna need to scout the situation before making any moves. He overhears some boy screaming at a man with a sword at his hilt. This is the man Jin was talking about. He sees him scolding his bodyguard, who is only trying to protect him, but he seems to be out of drugs, and trying to get his bodyguard to get him more, even threatening their lives if they don't. The bodyguards look at each other, and while the young lord keeps blabbering off, they pull an absolutely Chad move and just punch him in the gut, knocking him out. The man curses the station they have and pray the lord just dies from his addiction. Jin looks over the scene and assumes the bodyguards must be around 6 stars. Killing Alcaro will be easy, but the bodyguards will prove to be a challenge. Jin ponders a way to kill the young lord discreetly and slams the table. It seems he found his method. The scene shifts to a lady asking her henchman how many bodyguards a certain person has. Henchman 1 responds saying around 6. They seem to be after the same person that Jin is. The larger henchman says now that the lady is here, even 6 bodyguards shouldn't be a problem. She confirms his location and tells her men that this is the place they need to be. As she is approaching, a crackle is seen in the sky, and a huge lightning bolt hits the inn, and the lady is immediately regretting her decision. We flash back to Jin finding his idea to kill Alcaro. He will attack the inn with magic. Though Jin is only a 4-star magician, if he adds spiritual energy to the mix, it can greatly affect the potency of his magic. The result will be a 6-star spell, and no one would suspect a 15-year-old to be able to cast a 6-star spell. Even Buried in Zipfel around this time is only 6 stars. Using spiritual energy, he will have to make the spell appear that it has come from the outside, so maybe a lightning spell would be best. He gathers the shadows around him and casts spiritual release, and lightning begins to envelop his figure. He casts summon lightning, and a huge thunderbolt strikes the building, decimating it. We are now introduced to the girl that's also trying to get at Jin's target. This is Cyrus Endorma, and she is the captain of the Hidden Palace's 7 swords, and the daughter of its current master. She is worried about the 6 members of her faction and her mother's lover, so quickly orders her men to get inside. Lightning strikes again on the path the group tries to take. One of the bodyguards begins to get angry, questioning if this is a Zipfel mage. They already took care of them, so is this revenge? The impatient bodyguard continues to run in, despite the young lady's warning. He is fried from a thunderbolt, turning him into some burnt toast. The other bodyguard rushes to the girl's side, and Cyrus assumes, due to the strength of that last bolt, this must be the end. She rushes in to check for survivors, and Jin seems to be a little injured as well. He underestimated the strength of his own spell, noting that it was closer to 7 stars. Thankfully, his pendant saved him from a lethal attack. He emerges from the rubble and sees the hidden temple guards are still alive. Before he can analyze the situation, Cyrus appears in his face, curious on the fact that there's another person her age in Mamet. Jin is stunned that Cyrus asked for his well-being. It seems he was caught up in the blast as well, so she offers him some help to get out of there. Her bodyguard approaches her, informing her that the guard survived, but she calmly tells him that if Alcaro is alive somehow, kill him, which shocks Jin. She also says that magic was most likely from a single magician, so if they find the person responsible, kill them as well. Jin immediately recognizes Cyrus as the Hidden Temple's master's daughter, and after hearing her order to kill Alcaro as well, he doesn't have any reason to worry that he didn't do the job. Jin can't let this girl remember his face, however, so he needs to slip away from the chaos. The bodyguard informs Cyrus that Alcaro did in fact die from the lightning strike. She tells her bodyguards not to worry, she was on her way here to relieve them of that duty anyways, and thanks them for putting up with him for so long. Cyrus raises her sword and tells all the onlookers that the Hidden Palace will now own this inn, or what's left of it. Mamet residents begin to scream at this outrage. It doesn't matter who she is. This is Mamet. No one has authority here. She doesn't take these statements lightly. She coats her sword in frost and dances between the 2 men talking, killing them instantly. She begins to talk again, informing the group on how the terrorist attacked and is escaped, and letting them know if they are involved whatsoever, they will be dealt with as well. And due to the circumstances, it's only fair that she takes control of the inn and orders everyone to look for the magician who destroyed it. One of the men tells Cyrus that there isn't a single magician among them. Cyrus knew this, however. She assumes that one of these scumbags brought the magician here. She looks towards Jin, who's still on his knees, and wonders why he didn't get up since she told him to. Jin pretends to be scared and have a wounded leg, and Cyrus just notes that he's quite the coward, but also thinks he's pretty cute, and pulls out lotion to heal his leg. Jin gets up and she begins applying the medicine, saying how lucky someone as weak as him survived the lightning strike, and think of this gesture as an honor of the great Cyrus. Jin asks how he can repay the favor, but Cyrus tells him that there's no need for that. How can he possibly repay someone as great as her? Just consider it a nice memory. Ah, another humble character I see. She tells him to once in a while just bow in the direction of the Hidden Palace, and takes her leave. Jin got out of this one pretty easily and completed his mission. The panel shifts to Jin cadets completing their mission, chopping down some orcs. The mission is going much better than expected, and they're already at 18 kills and without any casualties. They might just get out of this one unharmed. Misa thinks that this situation is unusual for orcs since they're typically organized and in groups, but the 18 that they took out so far were nothing of the sort. Misa thinks Jin has the blessing of a god, and she's not that far off, because it kinda does. The mission is going very well, and there's only 7 more orcs to go, as she orders the cadets to resume the hunt. We see a familiar cat in the bushes, however, and this must be the god that Misa was referring to. It seems Murakan has been lurking in the shadows, protecting the cadets the entire time, but he's almost at his wit's end and wants to go home and eat some delicious strawberry pie. A few days before, we see Murakan in his dragon form approaching the group of orcs, ordering them to move only individually and not in groups. If they don't want to follow that, they can be eaten on the spot. The orcs are terrified of Murakan and immediately understand the order. Back to the present, Murakan, still in his cat form, is cursing the so-called 1,000-year contractor for making him do such tasks. He's gonna make Jin buy him some mangas on the way home. But thanks to Murakan's efforts, none of the cadets have died. But he can't let his guard down, however, because a menacing presence can be felt, slowly treading in the way of the group. We see the silhouette of a knight-like creation, and Murakan seems to know what kind of creature this is, and thinks that the cadets are only 3 stars. so he puts up a barrier that they wouldn't even notice. Bellup, however, notices that it's gotten a little bit darker, but doesn't know why, and wonders if it's just the rain. The knight-like creation continues to stomp around, and Murakon transforms into his dragon form to meet him, asking who dares release such aura without his permission. And it turns out, it isn't even a life form, but a cemetery giant. Murakon was sure the dragons destroyed all of these 2,000 years ago. But what is one doing out here of all places? It's supposed to protect the graves of dead gods. Murakon doesn't appreciate the reunion and wants to deal with this thing in one blow, and charges shadow energy into his mouth. He lets out a beam of spiritual energy, seemingly decimating the giant. Murakon transforms back into his human state, noting that it's been quite a while since he had to use his real power. He's not quite used to it yet. He ponders on the situation, and there's no way that there's only one cemetery giant roaming around. The Zipvels have to be related. He won't tell Jin about this just yet. He will protect him if anything happens. For now, Jin needs to focus on growing, and in maybe 10 years, he'll be able to fight the Zipvel. The scene shifts to Bovard Gaston, and of course this guy has something to do with this. He's had something to do with everything. Telling a new character, Lord Vishukel, that his masterpiece, the cemetery giant, has been destroyed. We are introduced to Vishukel, and he is the vice leader of the revolutionary group Kinslow. Bovard despairs at the destruction of his so-called work of art, but Vishukel tells the man that this is not what they should be worrying about, rather the thing that took down the giant. He checked the scene and deduced that it was destroyed by a dragon of shadows, and they need to move forward with their plans. It's time to set up a meeting with the Zipvels. Before we dive into this meeting, however, we travel back to Zed, congratulating Jin on the completion of his mission, and he returned from Moment unharmed. Quite impressive. Zed orders everyone to disperse after complimenting Jin, and Jin leaves and meets with his cadets, who are all in one piece. Miu and Anne's cadets are watching over the bunch, chatting about a rumor that some mage strike the inn Jin was supposed to go to assassinate his target, mentioning how lucky he was to have someone else complete his mission for him. The man next to Kajin continues that Jin isn't really even that skilled, and all of his cadets are only 3 stars. But how long will they take this disrespect? Kajin can't do anything since Jin is still a pureblood. Until Miu and Anne give a direct order, his hands are tied. Jin approaches the group saying he's heard everything and asks Kajin how his arm feels. Okay, he's back to his villain arc. Okay, what is he about to do? Kajin thanks Jin for cutting it so cleanly because it made it easy to be reattached. And Jin wonders if all these guys can do is talk behind his back. They apologize, but Jin says they don't need to. He's not a flag bearer yet, so he's not their superior. Kajin argues that he's still a pureblood, so technically he is, and with one word he can have all of them killed. Jin wonders why Kajin thinks he would do something like that, and he replies saying that they were being disrespectful just now. And Kajin doesn't relent, standing up, continuing to taunt Jin, saying how he can only complete his missions through sheer luck. Jin just calmly tells Kajin that he has it all wrong. Jin didn't call him an eyesore just because they were talking some shit. He did it because Kajin is the most skilled 5-star knight in the intermediate class, and even stronger than Jin. So how come you're this strong and all you can do is talk? Jin thought he was clear when he said anyone could challenge him at any time. He points his sword at Kajin, and the man's veins bulge in his forehead after seeing this proclamation. He won't go easy on the young master, and doesn't want any aura restrictions. He pulls his sword, cursing Jin for his arrogance, and strikes at him. Jin blocks but notes that the strike is heavy, but Jin cannot be caught up with this type of opponent. Kajin continues to taunt Jin as he raises his sword into the air, gathering aura around it. He smacks it down on Jin, telling him that he isn't on his level yet, and kicks him in the chest plate, sending him flying. He lets out another wide slash, but Jin notices that he can see it. This must be the result of the steel marble training. He can see through all of Kajin movements. There are infinite ways a sword can strike through the air, but a 5-star knight is limited in the ways that he can manipulate his blade. It's even easier reading an enemy blinded by rage. Jin confidently tells Kajin that he will end this duel in 3 moves, and there is nothing that he can do now. He has read all of his movements. Kajin curses the brat, but Jin continues. First, he will slash left, then do an irregular upward swing, and finally an aerial attack. We see Jin putting aura into his sword and lets off an attack that Kajin is unable to block. It connects and Kajin's sword is blasted off while he is sat on the floor, completely confused on how he was beat. Jin points his sword towards Kajin, informing him the truth that Jin is a 5-star aura user, and he's gotten there faster than expected. Kajin wonders if he has been tricked, but Jin never did the sort. Kajin just doesn't know him well. Jin doesn't pick losing fights. The Tona twins rush into the scene wanting to know what is going on, but see Jin overtop a defeated Kajin. He strolls past the twins telling them beating Kajin was nothing special. The scene shifts to the defeated Kajin explaining what happened to the sisters, who don't even believe him. How can a 15-year-old possibly be at 5-star aura? But Kajin says that everyone in the training ground witnessed what happened. Miu tells him that it's actually her fault for assuming Kajin was anything more than just trash, and urges him to leave. Anne tells Miu that this time, Jin showed his fangs to the entire clan, and his next mission, they will send some men with him to a place that will become his grave. Jin is seen back in his room, and Gilly informs him that after what he did, the house is in an uproar. Jin thinks that only Tamar, Siren, and Luna are people capable of being 5-star knights at the age of 15, and now Jin is 5-star swordsmanship, 5-star magic, and 4-star spiritual energy. He never imagined he would get there so fast, and it's all thanks to the Clearstone training. Jin notices a connection between his 3 powers. All of them grow even when one of them gets stronger. He noticed it when he experienced the spiritual energy congestion after he leveled up. He felt his magic and swordsmanship become stronger as well. Perhaps these powers are greatly interwoven. Jin continues his monologue to Gilly, and since he's purposefully showed his family that he's a 5-star knight, his siblings will now take action, including his big brother, Joshua, who has been named as one of the future patriarchs. We are introduced to Joshua Rune Candle, the second flag bearer, and he rose to power as a top candidate in the sibling rivalry. He has the support of their mother Rosa, and his influence is spreading. It might not be a bad idea to hide his skills a little longer, but Jin needs to continue his momentum of getting stronger, so he needs to attack enemies that are of a higher level for him to build experience, and wants people from outside the clan to begin spreading his fame. Murakhan, while eating his favorite snack, tells the kid that he sure does have a big ego, but he is right in this situation. The patriarch is coming to the Garden of Swords, and it's revealed that Siren's wish is to have a patriarch that is not Joshua. And in fact, Siren has not been satisfied with anyone since Luna, but she isn't interested in the clan. The succession dynamic was set in stone until Jin flipped it on its head as a dark horse. Siren is the type of person to give anyone an opportunity despite age, so Jin should expect another test like the first mission. But whatever mission that Siren sends him on, he will definitely be ready for it, and wants to overcome the age difference between himself and the other siblings. And also, sending him away on missions is another way to protect him from being killed by his siblings. Gilly tells Jin that once words spread about his power, many important figures from around the world will request an audience with him. Jin thinks it might be appropriate to host a banquet to host all of these different characters, and will host it when his father arrives. He tells Gilly to make sure that she is ready and to keep an eye on Murakhan. If he messes up his transformation, it could be the end of us. Murakhan is shocked at Jin's little belief in him, and even more depressed when Gilly agrees. A few days pass and Gilly is seen tending to a flower in Jin's room. Petro informs them, telling them that the Imperial Vermont family has sent correspondence to the banquet. Jin is surprised that he even piqued the interest of the Imperials. The Patriarch's arrival will be in 1 month, and Jin has already coordinated other clans and organizations to match that date. His siblings have been quiet, and Jin thinks that they have to, since if they act out now, it's basically advertising that they're scared of the youngest sibling, which isn't a good look. Before he can continue, Petro busts into the room, informing Jin that he has been assigned a mission, and the location is the Kallen Ruins. All of a sudden, Rosa is reprimanding all of her children. How dare they send Jin into Zipfel territory? At least his mom has his back. It seems this mission was meant to be Jin's last, and we're introduced to 3 more siblings, Lunit, Ran, and Vigo. Jin walks into the room, aware of his upcoming task, but Rosa tells him that it's been cancelled. She won't let him go. The sisters try to argue, but Rosa just turns to them and puts them in their place. Hey, bonus points for Mama. These bitches, her words, not mine, only seem to think about how to kill Jin. They argue that it's only natural, he threatens their hierarchy, and wonder why Rosa is defending him so much. In fact, all of the siblings had to deal with this kind of harassment due to their parents encouraging competition. Rosa agrees that it is true that she let actions like that take place, but reminds the group of Jin's potential. Who among them has reached 5 stars at 15? She is saying that Jin is different from all of them. If any one of them showed the same potential, she would have done the same. Lunita just yawns, and the 2 sisters are in despair that their mother basically said that they're not worth receiving her protection. And after seeing how they reacted, she doesn't regret their decision. And since the other 3 siblings are in the same generation of flag bearers, everyone will be punished. Lunita has to self-reflect for a while, and Rand and Vigo will have to return a famed sword, and the two are stunned. Rosa continues that she wanted to take all of their weapons, so be thankful that it's stopping at only one. Hold up, how come Lunita only has to self-reflect? What kind of punishment? This family's so weird. What the hell? Now the attention is on Jin, who's entered the room, and Rosa asks him what he will do next. She thinks on what kind of action he will take. She just punished 3 siblings who had nothing to do with the situation. Will Jin try to be moral and help his other siblings out, or just be content on how the situation has been playing out and incur the wrath of even more family members? She is interested on how he will play this out. Jin begins to speak, saying how he very much likes this mission his big sisters assigned him, and Rosa is shocked. Does Jin know anything of the Kalin ruins? Jin says that he knows that it's Zipfel territory, and the rune candles failed to conquer it before. Jin knows it's dangerous, but never wants to back down from a challenge. Jin appreciates this mission from his older sisters, and is actually happy that they assigned him to it. Jin knows the dangers, but it must be a testament to how skilled Miu and Anne believe that he is. Isn't that why they assigned him it in the first place? Rosa is impressed by the confidence of her youngest son, and Jin continues that suddenly canceling a mission for the youngest will undermine the clan's power in the face of their supporters. Rosa, however, mentioned that no one would think twice if Jin decided not to go on this mission, and this is all a plan to put Jin's life at stake, since the sisters cannot fight Jin directly. He admits he can't fight his sisters either because he's not strong enough to win against them just yet, but the best thing that he can do is return from this mission and complete it flawlessly. Rosa tells Jin the dangers of Kalin ruins, and one mistake could mean certain death. Jin knows what he's signing up for, however, and wants an additional condition with the mission. If he completes it, he wants to keep the swords that are being confiscated from his older brothers, which takes both of them off guard. Ron tells Jin that he has many swords for him to choose from, so just give up on the mission. Jin needs to stay alive, at least until Siren returns. Jin thinks that it's weird for him to say something like that, since he didn't even try to stop Miu and Anne in the first place. Rosa orders her children to be quiet and accepts Jin's condition. She thinks to herself that she is happy with Jin's progress. She feared he would turn out like Luna, but he has the personality of a dominator, telling him that luck won't be on his side twice. But Jin just laughs at this. His whole life he assumed he was an unlucky guy. Miu tells Jin that this isn't a solo mission. He will have people assigned to quote-unquote help him. Yeah, help him, alright. Jin thanks his sisters for their consideration and with a cold piercing stare, bids them farewell. It seems Kajin is on this mission as well, so our boy might be alright, he's weak as shit. And the other two coming along are Mal and Rima. They fake pleasantries and tell Jin how wonderful it is to be assigned a mission with him, but we all know something's up. Jin tells Kajin that the past is the past, and now they should work towards their mission, but thinks to himself that all 3 of these people are Miu and Anne's lackeys. He's been set up. Mial asks to brief Jin further on the mission. Their objective is to steal relics, a total of 4 in the Kalin ruins. We get some information about this place. So the Kalin ruins is a place where thousands of natives used to live in tribes. Now the ruins are owned by the Zipfel clan, and it's located in the Pelan kingdom. This place was discovered a couple thousand years ago, and once the Zipfels found out about the natives, they murdered and enslaved them. Now, however, the clan claims to respect the tribes, but this is all for political appearances. It may appear that way on the surface, but in reality, the people are still enslaved, and no one is coming to save them. Under the tyranny of the Zipfels, the only reason that they're kept alive is to manage the land. The Zipfels crossed the line with these people, and their obsession with the ruins can most likely be linked to the powerful artifacts still hidden within. In particular, the mirror. The existence of this artifact was only known to the Zipfels, but a brave journalist exposed the secret that all of Zipfel's actions, including enslaving the natives, were all in an effort to find this mirror. The fountain of mana. It is said from just a glance, one's mana can skyrocket to 7 stars. By using this artifact, spells could mass produce elite magicians, and this process begins in about 10 years. So at this moment in time, they haven't found the fountain of mana yet. So Jin may be able to intervene, and will save thousands of people from their lives of being enslaved and tortured. The group arrives at the location, and Mial tells Jin that the patrol guards are heading back. He also informs him the location of the guards' barracks, and the location of the artifacts that are in the 3rd warehouse. He continues that there must be some sort of barrier, so an ambush will be hard. Kajin tells Jin not to worry, and they will protect him even if it costs their lives. Okay, like, stop capping. Jin thanks Kajin for the reassurance and tells the group to rest up for an hour before they attack. He hands each of them a jerky from his snack pouch, but of course our boy had something planned. He masks up, telling the 3 to enjoy their naps, and the 3 immediately feel the effects of the food, wondering wondering if it's poisoned. Jin assures them that it's just sleeping medicine and tells the 3 lackeys that it was obvious that their mission was to kill him, but it's now time for Jin to actually complete the mission, even if it means doing it alone. And even tells the trio that their act would have been more believable if they were the same assholes they were at school. Jin leaves them and suits up, ready to embark on his daring mission. We see 2 guards protecting the warehouse, laughing back and forth, passing the time, but Jin ruins the party and immediately kills the jokester, causing the 2nd guard to draw his spear. He jabs at Jin, but it's easily dodged. He elbows the man in the neck, incapacitating him as he removes his hood. Only 2 guards, huh? Jin inspects the lock and is confused why a clan of magicians would have a simple lock and not a barrier spell. This might mean whatever's in here must not be important to the clan. Before Jin can walk in, he spots a mana circle, specifically called Blood and Barrier. This spell is to identify if one is a pure-blooded Zipfel, and it can differentiate if someone stepping on it is a human or a monster. In other words, it doesn't matter whose blood is put on the seal as long as it's a normal human. Jin grabs his knife and prepares blood from the unconscious guard. Jin thinks this did the trick, but is shocked to see that it still activated the trap. This means that the guard was sick with a disease, or he's not human. As Jin turns, he sees the 2 guards transform into terrifying beasts. Jin is perplexed at what's going on and has to use magic casting Silent Wind. It seems fighting is unavoidable. The first berserking monster lunges in at Jin, but he takes his dagger and plunges it into the side of this beast, causing it to scream in pain. It swings its arm in retaliation, but Jin dashes back. He pulls his sword and infuses it with aura. The injured berserker removes the dagger from its side and its wound regenerates, alerting Jin to this skill. Those humans turned into high-ranking monsters with regeneration. What on earth are the Zipfels up to? Jin wonders if these are living golems, a practice which is very illegal. Is the Kallen ruins being used as a giant experiment with forbidden magic? Jin notes that living golems are equivalent to 4-star swordsmen, so he should easily be able to deal with them. Golems are magical weapons that can attack through all sorts of punishments, and their only weakness is their cores. The core is usually in one of 3 spots: the head, the heart, or the stomach. Jin prepares his sword and pierces one of the golem's head, but it doesn't back down and continues to swing. So it's not in the head, Jin concludes. If that's the case, Jin then steps back into that monster's abdomen and fires an aura blast into the beast, revealing the core from its chest. Jin is still disgusted that the Zipfels would do this to a normal human. The other monster begins its attack, but Jin slices its claws and pierces its chest, causing it to explode. He thinks the job is done, but hears one of the defeated monsters begging to be killed. Jin looks down on the poor soul and relieves his pain. He doesn't know how they ended up here, but one thing is certain: no human wants to become a living golem, a thoughtless tool with no future. Jin feels for the slain guards, but now is not the time to lose his composure. He has only learned the ugly truth of these ruins, and is also fearful that his sisters also know, and this is the reason why he was sent here. Despite all of this, he still has a mission to complete. Jin ponders on a way to hurt the Zipfels. Even if he publicizes this information, they're just gonna deny it. But creating living golems is a capital crime, and then get the Empire to start investigating. All Jin can do now is collect evidence and continue the mission. Jin can't worry about this problem anymore, and needs to find the artifacts. Jin noticed that there isn't any movement towards his position, and despite the golems, the warehouse is still lightly guarded, letting him know that there isn't anything of importance inside. He inspects the barriers on various objects that appear simple, but a bowl catches his eye that has a much more complex barrier. Normally, Jin would have to use a lot of effort to dispel this barrier. But with the 2 dead guards outside, it's only a matter of time before the camp is alerted. He begins casting a Rasengan-looking blue fireball and casts another red one in his other hands. After applying spiritual energy, he casts Flame Explosion. The scene shifts to Miu and Anne getting pimp slapped, and I'm loving this chapter already. Luna is showing the girls what the hell is up, asking why they're trying so hard to kill a kid 10 years younger than them. Luna wants to answer on why he's being targeted already, even though there's an unspoken rule. Luna is ashamed of her sisters for acting this way. Miu tries to lash out since Luna never had any interest in the family, but Luna answers that she usually wouldn't defend him, but he completed their trapped mission and has just returned. She's ashamed in her sisters, since they only helped further his fame. Never in history has a flag bearer been humiliated by the youngest. She warns the two what will happen next if they continue their hunt. Jin is not merciful. Luna is concerned for them as an older sister and returns to her room. Her nanny inquires on why Luna pushed the two sisters so soon. She is worried about Mew and Anne since Jin is not the type to forget who betrayed him. What? Now they're worried about them? Jin's like 15. They had like all these years. Well, okay, let me not get into this. Luna just changes the topic and asks if the nanny looked into the subject that she requested. She says that she did, and the assassination attempt was not ordered by Mew and Anne. Luna begins ruling out other members of the family, and only a couple remain: Joshua, Ran, and Vigo, and Lady Lunita, but I don't think Lunita did anything. Ran and Vigo are excluded, and all the others cannot be investigated easily. There will be a problem continuing this investigation, so for now they should keep watch and dig more once they find someone with a motive. We switch to Jin, who returns to his room and greets Gilly and Murakan. Gilly rushes to him concerned about his safety, but is happy to see him completely unharmed. She even adds that if anything ever happened to him, she would scour the earth and give her own life as revenge. Me and Murakan have the same reaction here. That's some scary stuff. Murakan, in his cat form, asks if Jin made the report properly. Jin tells him that he did, but everyone is assuming that he's receiving outside help. But that doesn't bother Jin. More importantly, Jin pulls out the golden heart and shows it to the two. Murakan comments that Jin is lucky to be alive after facing one of these things, asking where he found it, but is shocked to hear that the guards in the camp were living golems with regeneration, but died as soon as their cores were damaged. Murakan is in deep thought. He thinks about the cemetery giant and the living golems. What on earth are these Zipfels up to? He tells Jin to make some time soon. He and Murakan will have to go back there. This mission is of top priority. They need to get to the bottom of this situation before it gets out of hand. Jin is hesitant to return, but is more confident with the shadow dragon by his side, and maybe they can find the fountain of mana. Jin agrees to the proposal, and shortly after the mission, the three stooges that tried to sabotage him also return, but they were exiled from the clan, even though they quote-unquote completed their mission. Then, in June 1795, Jin is officially cleared from his Clearstone training, and we see the Tona twins still laboring about. Zed tells Jin that he will receive new training and to speak with the patriarch next week. The twins are worried that Jin will already be a flag bearer. However, there's one step before that, the provisional flag bearer. One has to become a provisional flag bearer in order to accumulate honor to really become a true flag bearer, and he has to do this alone. This idea excites Jin, however, because he can get stronger without looking behind his back or hiding his abilities. Before I go on, how come every time we see the patriarch, he's looking so badass? Anyways, we see this cool shot of Siren leading his troops through a snowy mountain range. One of his men informs him that they will soon reach the Garden of Swords in about 2 hours. Siren comments on his youngest son who interrupted his training. He was thinking of being alone in the Black Sea for 10 years. But even now, Jin has done something that requires his attention. Kana continues that he always felt something different in Jin, but never expected him to reach such heights. And what he's been doing is truly shocking. His fighting spirit isn't normal. He doesn't resemble a normal kid. He has the pain of regret in his eyes, even though he tries to hide it. Siren can't forget how he threatened his siblings right when he got to the garden. Even though, without being told, he immediately knows the rule of crushing your opponents. Even though the other brats tried to hold him down, he survived and came back stronger every time. And Mamet, Colin Ruins, and even fought a white wolf one-on-one, and even proved that he will never waver on his creed. Khan wonders if Jin really killed the white wolf, but Siren firmly believes that he did, but knows he did have some outside help. Siren arrives at the Garden of Swords, and the gates open up and everyone bows as he enters. Rosa meets him at the top of the stairs, and Siren is impressed with the reception, but is informed that Joshua did everything, and the kids are doing well. Siren retorts that if the kids were doing well, he wouldn't have had to come back. Jin thinks that the spotlight will be on him today, as Siren and Joshua exchange glances. Siren quickly calls for Ran and Vigo and asks them if they really gave Jin the swords that he gifted them. He is told how the youngest was able to steal it from them after completing his mission. This puts a wide grin on Siren's face as he bursts into laughter. He pats his boys on the shoulders, telling them to steal them back, and Siren jokingly wonders if Jin really is his son. Some time passes and we see the two looking out the window in some father-son bonding time, and this is actually the first banquet Jin has ever been able to go to with his family. In his past life, Jin was forced to hide like some sort of criminal, but now he is the guest of honor. Siren informs Jin that the Rune Candle family rarely hosts banquets, so Jin's actions are truly noteworthy. Jin thanks his father and is asked how many people he thinks are attending. They both assume around 1,000, and Siren says the last banquet they had was around 200 less. so over the years, the more people who attend signify that the clan's authority is growing. Though 1,000 people isn't a lot, especially for a party, for a gathering like this, each person is someone who holds great power, and to have them gathered here is a notable achievement. Simon reflects on the 7 years he spent away, killing demonic beasts in the Black Sea. And even during this time, because of his power, the family continues to grow. And if he disappeared, most of the people attending tonight would also vanish. Jin thinks to himself that he agrees with his father. The rune candles are the only people who can directly oppose the Zipfels, but as soon as Siren is out of the picture, the scale is heavily tipped into the favor of the Zipfels. Jin asks his father on this exact situation and tells him that if it came to be, he would abandon the family. This takes Siren off guard, but Jin continues that the fall of the family will be because of the incompetence of the next patriarch. Jin will not die because of someone else's mistakes. This family has too many weaknesses. Siren questions what weaknesses Jin is talking about, but he elaborates, saying that he's exchanged the swords from Ran and Vigo to get the commission contracts that are only accessible to flag bearers. The head of the Vergna family tricked the emperor and embezzled the empire's treasure, but here they are at the banquet with no consequence. The Clever family recently asked us to kill Zipfel magicians. Harold's daughter gambled away her treasure, then hired the rune candles to recover it, and hasn't paid the fee yet. This is the tip of the iceberg. Jin continues that there are more contracts that only Siren is allowed to see, but Siren questions if Jin thinks that he can protect the family if he was a patriarch. Jin tells him that if the patriarch is not the Genesis Knight, the next important skill that he must possess is negotiation. Siren tells Jin that even the Zipfel family has to deal with similar situations, but Jin stops him. The Zipfels can never justify these actions, because playing the villain is the rune candle's job. He finishes his thought by saying that if the next patriarch is unable to see the strengths the family has and can politically maneuver in this environment, he will leave without hesitation. He would make preparations to take revenge on the Zipfels, and Siren laughs, at least his son wants revenge. But you need to be alive in order to take revenge. Siren thinks to himself that not one of his children ever talked so plainly, and especially about the fall of the family, but is impressed that the youngest son can reveal his thoughts so clearly. Jin possesses all the best traits from all of his siblings. It's a shame he's only 15. Siren thinks he can protect the seat of patriarch for another 10 or 15 years, so this is all the time that Jin will have to secure his legacy. Siren signals Jin that it's time to join the party and tells him to come to him once it's over. They have something to speak about. Jin clenches his fist in excitement that this must be for the reserve flag bearer qualification, and this will let him train independently. But all of a sudden an attendant rushes in towards Siren, saying an uninvited guest has arrived. This takes him off guard. The Zipfel family has arrived. Oh shit. Siren isn't pleased and orders his attendant to tell them to leave. Jin thinks on the situation, and Andre's visit is discourteous, but they cannot just disrespect them outright. Siren turns to see what Jin is thinking about. They in turn change the situation. Instead of falling into their ploy, they will allow them to stay, and in the Garden of Swords, the Patriarch's orders are law, and unless Andre wants to leave without legs, he will have to follow Siren's commands. Siren, overlooking the guests, thanks them for coming, and he's overjoyed that he has such a capable son, even in his later years. So first, a round of applause for their youngest son, Jin, as the crowd knows that there's only 2 rules in this banquet. If you get drunk and start fighting, the guards will escort you to the arena. The loser must surrender, and the winner must show mercy. This is a banquet after all. Jin thinks that this is a party of fated meetings. When 1,000 people who rule over the continent are gathered, disputes are bound to arise. If this was a normal banquet, everyone would hide their malice. But in the Garden of Swords, they are free to challenge who they wish, as long as the 2 follow these rules. What a crazy freaking party with them. Siren tells Jin that he can also partake in this tradition, but he's not allowed to duel someone weaker than him. It will be an insult to the clan. And if Jin loses, Siren will confiscate everything from Gilly. Huh? Gilly? Wait a minute. Chill for a sec. Jin thinks to himself this is the first time that he's ever had a real conversation with his father. In his past life, he couldn't even dream of this. But being a loving son is not what he came here to do. He wants to surpass Siren if it's the last thing that he does. Jin is down in the banquet enjoying a drink, and of course the Tona twins appear. They congratulate Jin on being a 5-star, but their voices are a little shaky. Jin asks how their clear stone training is going, and Hey Tona excitedly tells him that they're getting a lot better. Jin whispers to the twins that they can leave once they're satisfied with playing this family act. A head of the Ken clan approaches Jin, and the twins take their leave. Jin says that it's an honor. He heard so many heroic tales of the Ken clan's patriarch when he was a child. And the man just laughs, saying that Jin is embarrassing him right now. And all of a sudden, a man grabs Jin by the back of the head, wondering how he became a 5-star so soon. He's almost 10 years younger than him, and introduces himself as Huger, and he might need to chill before Jin kills his ass. Jin says it's nice to meet him, and he fixes his hair, and Huger is impressed with his composure, but lets him know that even though he's a rune candle, Huger is still his senior in martial arts, and says how proud he is of his junior. Coldly tells him to listen close. His actions just now were an insult to everyone who has shown him his respect. If you want to bring up rankings, you need to be more considerate. The first and second flag bearers of the Ken clans and the Dragon King Knights and the Black King mercenaries are your seniors, no? Look how they treated me. Where do you get off acting like this? Accept your mistake and apologize. And if you do, I will let it slide. Huger is not pleased by the outcome of the situation, but a friend approaches him saying that Jin potentially just saved his life, and to follow his advice. Everybody knows Huger's big mouth was bound to get him into trouble. He coughs and apologizes to his seniors and apologizes to Jin as well. Jin accepts, but now has become an enemy of Huger. Luna approaches impressed on how easily Jin can make people not like him. It might be better to act like a normal kid. And goddamn, Luna's looking fine. They share their glasses and Luna asks what Jin would do if Huger challenged him to a duel. He must be at least 6 stars. But Jin is confident that the Tuco clan's elders would have stepped in and stopped it. Luna is impressed with how thought out Jin handled the situation and wonders if Jin has a teacher for these kind of things. Luna just wonders if there's anything else to learn but the sword, and this just fits her character, oh my god. Jin says it might be hard for her to understand, but he is the most hated child in the family right now, and he needs to use a lot of tricks in order to survive. Luna thinks Jin is indeed talented, and still ponders on who tried to assassinate him early on. They must have noticed his potential. Luna wraps up the conversation and seems to be leaving because parties aren't her sort of thing, and Jin isn't tall enough to be her dance partner, and tells Jin when he grows up a little, she knows a spot that they can go. Jin looks forward to it, but before she leaves, she thinks she should leave a message just like Jin is doing, and hugs bringing him close. Everyone should understand now how much Luna values Jin, and they will be less rude of him out of fear of the white whale. She takes her leave and all the party onlookers are shocked to see what just happened. Now we are back to everyone's least favorite character, Bovard, who seems to have a hard-on for Luna, saying how jealous he is. I mean, at least he got good taste in women. He says he wants to sing a poem he made for Luna all night long, and that's disgusting. Vishukel has the same reaction and tells him to shut up, and we are now introduced to that man's younger sister, Margiela. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She tells her brother to chill, and this matter is really important for Bovard, and Bovard is ecstatic that Margiela understands him, but Vish just sighs in disbelief at what he's seeing right now. Jin notices the group, but doesn't try to say anything just yet, and wonders where the Ziffels are. It's annoying to have to search for them. All of a sudden, a glass is slammed on a table, and now an actually cool character is back, and we see the daughter of the Hidden Tower requesting a drink with Jin. Cyrus Andorma introduces herself again, and Jin pretends not to know her. Man, this chapter is full of surprises. Cyrus tells Jin that it's an honor to meet him, and he returns the compliment. She questions if he's really 15 years old and the same age as her, and inquires on how he got so strong so fast. Jin just laughs and says it was the rune candle's blessed bloodline that made him this strong. The Hidden Palace also has a blessed lineage, and Jin can't even imagine how much Cyrus's mother values her. Cyrus, with a big ego, says of course her mother values her. Unlike Jin, she is the only daughter, and then quickly apologizes if that came off as rude. Jin says it's fine and is actually envious of her. Having siblings can be a pain, but Jin thinks to himself that he is sure she recognized him. Why is she not bringing up Mamin? There's no way being this close to him and she can't put it together. But right on cue, Cyrus asks Jin a question. How is your injured leg? Jin smiles at this question, knowing that the cat is out of the bag. It's alright now thanks to an amazing person who rubbed some medicine on me. He still doesn't know how to repay her. Cyrus smiles and thinks Jin is shameless, and asks why he was at the Moonlight Well. She wants an explanation. Her men still weren't able to find the magic terrorist who blew up the inn. It's hurting her pride, and it made her wonder if the man she let go was a culprit all along. Me? The culprit? Magic? I'm a rune candle. Magic is strictly forbidden. Don't you know anything about my clan? Cyrus says that she doesn't suspect him, but it doesn't change the fact that he was there on a mission, and he could have hired a magician because it was out of his hands. And as the captain of the Hidden Palace's 7 swords, she cannot let this matter slide. Jin is pleased with her thought process, but she mistakenly thinks that he was after a member of the Hidden Palace. and it's not ideal that his thunderbolt did kill a couple members of them. Jin says that there isn't any evidence and everything that she is saying is only hypothetical. But Cyrus has a plan. She formally challenges Jin to a duel, but Jin responds that his father told him he isn't allowed to fight someone weaker than him, and if she wants to fight him that bad, he has no choice. Jin approaches the arena and tells the guards to leave. Only the medics will stay. One of the guards hands them 2 good swords, and the men seal off the arena for the 2. Jin thinks he needs to take care of this fast because after midnight, all the battle-crazy maniacs start rushing in to duel, and he doesn't want a crowd watching. Cyrus tells Jin that she wants a condition for this fight. If she wins, he will tell her everything that he is hiding, but if Jin wins, she vows to forget ever meeting him. The 2 start the duel, and Jin wastes no time and dashes in, but is surprised to see Cyrus activate myriad ice blades. This is an Endorm ability. She coats her blade with ice, and Jin asks why she's using her secret technique from the start. This isn't fair. As the youngest, he hasn't had the opportunity to learn any secret techniques. Oh, what will he do? Cyrus smiles and slashes Jin's sword, but this isn't her problem. She just continues her offensive. The 2 go back and forth exchanging blows, and Cyrus is shocked to see that Jin really is 5 stars. As the fight continues, she uses more and more of her secret skills, but it's no use. Cyrus is only 4 stars, but feels that she can bridge the gap by using the 3rd form of Myriad Ice Blades. Since she doesn't have a lot of mana, she can't drag this out. She has to finish the fight quickly. Jin also thinks on the situation and knows that she's bound to use her secret technique, but he doesn't know how strong it will actually be. He might need to use one of his own secret techniques, one of the many that he learned spending years inside of the ancient library. The cold wind brushes by Jin as Cyrus activates her 3rd form. She says it is over as she lets out the ability Avalanche. A large beam of ice aura is launched at Jin, and he is struggling to take it head on, while Cyrus gives him a cold stare. But Jin just smiles. While blood drips from his face, Cyrus is shocked that he's still withstanding her technique. Why does she feel so uneasy? No 5 stars should be able to break through this. All of a sudden, Jin's blade is right in the face of Cyrus, which she barely sidesteps, but sees a mysterious aura coat Jin's blade. A huge explosion is created, and Jin yells for Cyrus, thinking he might have killed her by mistake. Jin begins regretting his decision. He shouldn't have used Storm Blade from the Attila family. It's too destructive for someone like Cyrus. He is worried for her well-being as he calls out for her name. And when the shadows clear, we see her kneeling on the floor. She barely managed to escape that attack. Cyrus is completely in despair. This is the first time she has ever feared death and evaded an attack. Jin holds her shoulder and apologizes. She heard his warning, but at first didn't try to dodge. But no matter how much she values pride and honor, she is only 15 and has a strong desire to live. Jin tells her that he would have done the same as well, but let's not speak of it anymore. Jin doesn't know what to say to comfort her, but Cyrus pulls out medicine and applies some to Jin's face. Jin asks if she is devaluing her own life in the pursuit of being the only successor to the Ice Palace. But Cyrus responds that this is the life that she's always wanted. She takes her defeat and tells Jin that this is the first day that they have ever met. See you tomorrow. Jin is a little taken aback and oddly is unsure of what just happened. And what, you've been slaughtering everybody and now you nervous? What, you got a crush? I mean, he is 15, it's bound to happen. The next day comes and Jin notices that there are fewer people now. And now duels will be allowed to have crowds, so the party will really start. Jin wonders if he will finally be able to meet those Zipfels as well. He's heard the guests from Zipfel are all 15 to 20 years old, and this is perfect. He can compare his magical skill to theirs if he can watch a duel. But Jin does want to ask some questions related to the ruins, and once he becomes a reserve flag bearer, he will have time to investigate. With Murakan's help, finding the Fountain of Mana shouldn't be a problem either. This time around, Jin won't let those bastards mass-produce magicians. Jin is walking around and overhears someone picking up a cat, and he sees Cyrus picking up Murakan, and this puts an incredibly stressed look on his face. She looks at his name and laughs that Jin actually gave something like this to a cat, and we see a murderous aura building around Jin. As Cyrus laughs at this choice, all of a sudden another voice is heard. He knew if he followed this cat, he will finally be able to find Jin, and reaches his arms out happy that he found him again. Jin seems to not know who this is, or at least is pretending not to. Baradin is depressed that Jin already forgot about him, and starts giving him hints to make Jin remember. Cyrus thinks that this guy is a weirdo and takes Murakan away, and Baradin thinks that surely Jin will remember after this hint, but Jin declines. Baradin tells him that they met at the Mittel teleportation gate, Jin still pretends not to remember, but Baradin tells him his name again, and also tells him not to forget it. Jin slaps his hand, saying of course he knows who he is, but if he's acting like he doesn't, it's because he doesn't want to show his siblings that he could be in contact with his Zipfel. Baradin is ecstatic that he was actually remembered, but is so oblivious to the situation that Jin has just described. Jin wonders if this guy really will become a 9-star mage at 30, and the next patriarch of the Zipfels. Baradin says he's been looking for him in the last 2 hours, and Jin wonders how that could be possible. The place is big, but he should have been able to find him way sooner. Baradin says he's unable to use magic, so it turned out to be harder than he expected. Jin thinks to himself that this guy is all over the place, and Baradin congratulates Jin, and he always knew that his rival would make it big. 5 stars already? That's amazing. But it's not like he's been sleeping either. Baradin's magic is at 6 stars, 1 level above. Jin is taken aback. The greatest prodigy in the Zipfel family is only 6 stars at 18? Is he hiding his real level? But Baradin keeps boasting about his abilities, telling Jin to work hard and maybe he can catch up to him, so they can fight and test their abilities. Whatever the case may be, Jin is in front of the best possible person to test his magical abilities against. Jin tells him that he thought he told him before to learn how to shut up and breathe before letting out so many words. Baradin just laughs, saying Jin sounds like his father, but Jin quickly changes the conversation and asks why the Zipfels came to a party without an invitation, and that was actually Baradin's fault. He nagged his uncle Andre to come so he can meet Jin once again. Jin is taken aback that the vice patriarch would venture into enemy territory just because of a child's tantrum. Baradin says that they were in the area on vacation anyways, so he thought it would be a great idea. This must be destiny. Jin continues his cold attitude toward Baradin, but he doesn't relent on trying to be friends with Jin, telling him to show up to a Zipfel banquet one day too. Jin says that he's awfully lenient, and what if he commits an act of terrorism? Baradin says that he has his word. Even if he does, he will not be killed, and Baradin will not fight him head on. Jin thinks a man talking behind them is a fool, taking Baradin off guard, and Jin is referring to the man staring at him this whole time and signals his attention. It seems to be Bovard. He asks Jin if Lady Luna will come again. This question shocks Jin as well, but he tells him that he wanted to hand her this book that has their faces on it. It's filled with his love and all the poems that he spent months writing. Jin doesn't even know how to react, and Bovard continues, even saying that it will be possible that they will become brother-in-laws. This makes Baradin spit out his drink. He can't keep his composure any longer. On top of threatening his life on multiple occasions, he even talks about laying with his sister. Jin tells this dear guest that he needs a beating. Does Rune Candle look that pathetic in your eyes? He orders the guards to take this man to the arena. Bovard slips up and calls him Stepbro again, but tries to apologize, saying that he just wanted to confess his love. He begs and screams of how he can be treated like this. They throw him into the arena, and Jin tells him that they will fight hand to hand. It's about time this guy got the shit kicked out of him. Bovard is immediately regretting his decision, wondering if Jin found out about his attack on him when he was leaving Storm Castle. The news hits and his sister, and they're worried on what will transpire. They leave to go and watch the duel, which gets Cyrus and Murakon's attention as well. Baradin questions why Jin is even fighting this guy when he ignored all of his requests to duel. He continues to ramble on to Cyrus, but she's uninterested in this weirdo and tells him to screw off. Baradin has never seen this man before, but has heard about him from the Ibriano family. Despite his appearance, apparently he is quite skilled. Bovard asks to formally introduce himself to Jin, but Jin interrupts with a fist to the mouth. He doesn't even want to know this scum's name. Bovard isn't a pushover, however, as he coats his punch in aura, ready to retaliate, making Jin believe he must be around 6 stars. Bovard connects with Jin and starts taunting him for daring to challenge him, but before he can finish mocking him, Jin rushes in with a devilish look in his eyes. He unleashes a flurry of strikes, which makes Baradin and Cyrus assume that the bout is over. While sisters begin questioning Jin's actions, he's clearly overdoing it, beating Bovard absolutely senseless. But her brother tells him that there's nothing they can do at this Rune Candle banquet. But Margiela wants her brother to teach Jin a lesson, something more honorable than what Jin is doing right now. 2 men overhear this conversation and cheer on the idea for someone to kick Jin's ass. It seems he has a lot of haters. Vishukil agrees and calls to Jin, politely asking him to stop using Bovard as a punching bag and to fight him instead. Jin knows about this man and assumes that around this time he's 7 stars. Whether he wins or loses, this is a fight that could give Jin even more influence. Also, it's a good opportunity to get more experience with such a warrior. The previous patriarch of the Briano family was someone that even Siren acknowledged as strong. But Jin is even more interested in his sister, who seems to be quite good at concocting schemes, even putting her brother in this difficult situation. Jin tells Vishuko that he really must love his sister, but he responds saying that that should be obvious. Jin replies that he understands exactly how he feels. He cherishes his sister, and as such, he had to shut his servant up. But is surprised to hear that the guy who he beat up was not a servant, but Beauvoir Gaston, who apparently Jin wasn't aware that this was actually Beauvoir, and he's completely shocked at this revelation. Jin begins connecting the dots while Vishukel apologizes for his actions. Beauvoir didn't have any ill intentions, but Jin keeps trying to think about the connection that these two people have. In his past life, he never heard of the two ever being connected. Does this mean Vishukel is aware of his abilities as a transformation sorcerer? Even though Jin found the man that he was looking for. It's only left him more confused, however. There's no time to think. He's up against a 7-star knight. He needs to focus. Dashes in, but his strike is blocked, and Jin can immediately tell from the strength behind the blow that he is far greater than 7 stars, and even thinks his skill with the sword is on par with Zed's. And the way he's moving his sword is something that Jin can't comprehend at his stage. A crowd begins to build, even praising Jin for holding up so well. Someone comments on the Ibriano swordsmanship and how it's known for its unconventional style. But Baradin thinks to himself that these people know nothing, and only in desperate situations like this can the rune candles really shine. He compares the style of the Ibriano family to a sly snake, and the rune candles to a charging rhino. Even if the rhino's horn breaks, it will never stop charging. Jin, however, is being outmatched and knows that Vikel is not using his full strength. Though on paper, Jin is 2 stars below him, but he's putting up a fight. Jin is being battered and cut at the end of every exchange, and is close to his limit. This is the same feeling that he had when he dueled Kajin. He closes his eyes and draws energy into his sword, thanks Jin for the good fight, and rushes in to finish it. Jin stands there unfazed with his aura still emanating from his sword. As it is shattered from the impact, Vishukel's sword is brought close to Jin's neck. As Jin collapses from this intense fight, Vishukel wasn't unscathed. He feels a cut along his neck, and any deeper, his life would have been ended. Vishukel is left perplexed at what just happened as medics rush in to treat Jin. The moment Jin's sword broke, he felt something cut his throat. Did this child just figure out the hard sword while he was fighting? If either man was 1/10 of a second late, it would have meant certain death. What a scary man you are, Jin Rune Candle. We shift back to Jin waking up and Murakan bouncing off of his head. Jin quickly goes to throw him off, but is surprised to see that he's back inside of his room. He questions if he fainted while fighting Vishukel, and Gilly tells him that he's been asleep for over 2 days, while bringing him something to drink. The banquet has ended unfortunately, and Jin didn't get to greet all of the people that he wanted to. Gilly tells him that his duel has become a new hot topic, and everyone was aware of what Jin pulled off before collapsing. And it's astonishing to think that a 5-star at the age of 15 pulled off using the hard sword. Even though the situation didn't go according to plan, Luna's training has paid off, and it still ended with increasing Jin's fame. Jin seems to only be able to use this ability while in extremely stressful situations. Jin didn't want to lose, but he can't be too impatient. It's unheard of for a 5-star to even come close to scratching an 8-star. So he should be proud of his achievement. All in all, he met Baradin and confirmed his status in Zitfel, got a waifu out of Cyrus, and discovered who Beauvoir has been working with. There's still more things that need to be discovered, but interrupting his thoughts, Gilly puts down some flowers that Cyrus has gifted him. Jin knows the meaning of these flowers in the Ice Palace, and they represent a never-ending fight. It means that she wants to duel Jin again. But Gilly just skips over that fact and is just happy that Jin, for the first time, got a gift from a girl. She switches the topic and tells Jin that the patriarch has requested him. It's time for Jin to prove his worth. Jin assumes that he will be sent far away from the family for some time. Some time passes and we skip to this meeting, and of course, Jin just can't meet the patriarch for lunch. He has to meet him in the darkest frickin' alleyway of all time. Jin removes his hood and greets his father, and Siren comments that Jin looks like he's prepared to go on a journey by himself. Jin replies that he was planning on leaving soon, and this leaves Siren just sitting there thinking. Jin thinks to himself that ever since he's been reborn, his father has been easier to read. Siren asks if Jin knows the place that they're at. Jin says that he does, and it's the mausoleum. Only renowned members of the family are allowed to enter, and it's also a place where the heroes of Rune Candle are buried. Siren continues that Tamar actually is not buried here, and there isn't any graves outside commemorating him either. Siren tells Jin that the dark power that he has is the reason that he cannot be honored. After Tamar died, the pact that they made forbid them to use magic, and also forbid them to honor the ancestors who did. The result of this was Zipfels placing a curse on the Rune Candle bloodline, and because of this, all Rune Candles born after Tamar were not able to use magic. Once you defeated the Tona twins using magic, I never asked you how you got that power. Jin remembers this conversation, and Siren asks if Jin made a contract with Solderit, and he confirms that he did, and he's also referred to as a contractor. Even though, since he was reborn, he still hasn't heard her voice. Siren asks if Jin will use his power to overcome his siblings and become the next patriarch. This is one of the ideas that Jin has, but first he will travel the world. And if nothing satisfies him more than becoming patriarch, then he'll do just that. Siren smiles and doesn't know whether to be impressed or angry, but he's a little proud of his arrogant son. Siren tells Jin that he has 5 years to either be acknowledged or acknowledge the family. He has that amount of time to come back and give him his answer. Jin holds Bradamante close to his face, swearing to his father that he will do so, and thanks him for everything that he's done. Jin returns to Gilly and Murakan, and all there's really left to do now is begin his journey. Jin notices a briefcase that Gilly is carrying, and it seems to be some sort of device that cancels out aura powers. And even by holding it, Gilly is being weakened. Gilly's life is tied to Jin's, and her fame will rise as he does. Jin tells her, however, that he'll always protect her, and he better. Jin looks back at the Garden of Swords and steels himself, ready to depart. 5 years, huh? That's all the time he has to figure out what kind of path he will take. Jin takes the first steps onto his new journey, one to explore the world. Siren is seen still in the mausoleum, thinking to himself that he's reached the realm of demigod with sword alone, but has still been unable to crush the pact the Zipfels forced upon his family. He thinks on Jin as the chosen one, who has a contract with Solderit and possesses spiritual energy. He might be their last hope, the only child who can free his family. Siren looks forward to the story that Jin will write. We shift back to our protagonist, and Gilly asks him if it was okay to leave without saying goodbye. Lady Luna must be sad. Jin ignites his hand using a fire spell, making some light in the nighttime, and tells Gilly not to worry. She'll be alright. It's not like Jin is heading into a dangerous mission. Jin also didn't say goodbye to his cadets, who probably would have saluted him on his way out, causing some sort of scene, and Jin doesn't like all that attention. Gilly asks what Jin has planned first. Some of the previous flag bearers chose to go to Mammoth, since slaying villains is one of the quickest ways to build fame. A reserve flag bearer's mission is to build the reputation into such that fits the name Rune Candle, before they can be officially promoted to flag bearer. For example, Sister Mary went to the southern regions and slaughtered everyone who was considered strong, and that's how she got her nickname. Apart from her, most of Jin's siblings returned within 1 to 2 years. However, Siren has gifted him 5. The only reason Jin can think of this is because Siren wants Jin to unlock his potential with his hidden powers. Jin tells Gilly that they will head to the Arkan Kingdom. Gilly is shocked because the province is Zipfel territory. It seems Jin is heading into the Lion's Den right off the bat. It also seems that Jin, while he was investigating the ruins, has overheard some unlicensed magicians talking about an area within Arkan that is infested with martial artists and magicians who are wreaking havoc. Gilly now loves the idea, reminiscing her young soldier days and how much fun she had killing bad guys. It turns out Jin was actually lying about that scenario, and it seems he knows about this place from his past life. All the unregistered magicians and warriors are a part of a sinister family called Tessing, and what Jin is really after is the black market auction that takes place within this family. There will be many items that hold great value that Jin can make good use of, and a few grimoires that can boost his magical skills. Gilly looks around in her small wallet and regretfully informs Jin that it seems that they're broke and can't afford to take the transportation gate. Jin says he already has a plan for their money problems, and first they will stop by the Gene Kingdom. Gilly still questions how they will get there exactly, but Jin reminds her they can fly. Murakan's eyes light up since he can finally let loose in his dragon form. Despite Gilly's warning, someone might recognize them. Jin thinks it should be fine, however, and they need to at least try it once. Murakan transforms and warns the two to hold on tight. Lady Luna is seen walking around the castle and feels a strange sensation and looks through the window to see Jin riding the dragon. And he was found out almost instantly. At least it was Luna though. Luna is so impressed with her little brother. It's been about 5 seconds since he left and he's already riding a dragon. She scolds him for not saying goodbye but wishes him the best of luck in his travels and is excited to see what kind of man he will become. Some time passes and the group lands and Murakan grabs his strawberry pie, wondering if she is alright. It seems Gilly has motion sickness and Murakan turns enraged at Jin for making Gilly turn out like this. But Jin just reminds him that he was the one who was flying. Murakan continues to hold Gilly as she's throwing up, and Jin just watches, completely confused, but has some things to do. He suits up and tells the two not to make any scenes. We see a familiar face thinking about Jin and how he had a banquet for his success, but he didn't even find out about it until after it ended. He still doesn't know how to reward him for saving his life, and wants to meet him again. But just like typical MC timing, Jin shows up right behind him while he's lamenting. Jin calls out to Sember, and he is startled to see this cloaked figure. But Jin grabs his mouth and reveals his identity. Sember regains his composure, but wants to know how Jin got here. Jin says that Sember said if he needed anything, to just come ask. Sember says of course, how could he ever repay Jin's kindness? But Jin just plainly says that he will wait here for Sember to bring him gold and money. And this made me crack up, like you can't say it any nicer, man. Sember is also taken aback by this statement. One of the hidden rules of reserve flag bearers is that they need to hide their identity. The goal is to build a reputation with their own strength, and not from the fame of the family. It is expected for the young rune candles to live poverishly and save up bounties until they can afford the lifestyle that they are used to. But Jin isn't normal, as he pulls out a pouch full of cash. And he and Murakan are seen eating lavishly as the waiters struggle to bring them more food. The three are walking around the town satisfied from their meal, and Gilly is relieved that their financial problems were sorted. She expected to starve for the first few days, but Murakan teases Jin that he extorted money from Sember. But actually that's not the case. He was simply collecting a debt from the young lord, who happily gave him a fat stack. Jin is more worried about how much Murakan is eating, and what if he uses the transportation gate and throws up, just like last time. But Murakan just confidently states that he's a binge eater, and he won't change, even for Jin, and says it's Jin's fault that they want to use the transportation gate instead of flying. With Gilly's motion sickness, it's gonna be quite hard to fly, and also, there's another problem. The place they're going to is Zipfil territory, and about 80% of all active dragons are allied with them. They can't just ride in there carelessly. Murakan just confidently shouts that all of those so-called dragons will tremble in fear once they hear his name. He goes back into his cat form despite Jin's protest not to switch like that in public. Dragons and the gods who are with them, and the contractors tied to those gods, are mostly supporting Zipfil. And on the other hand, Rune Candle only has Jin, Solderet, and Murakan. If Syrant wasn't there, Rune Candle would have already fell. Jin has the realization. How come Zipfil was able to gather so many contractors? To have so many of them on the same side can't be a coincidence. He approaches the transportation gate and the man asks for his ID. He hands the man 2 fake IDs and Jin's alias is Jin Grey. He tells the man that they plan to vacation in Arkan and is let through. Jin sits beside Gilly on the same couch as they wait to be teleported, and as expected, the fake IDs from the families are foolproof. The teleportation starts and Murakan doesn't look like he can hold down his lunch. Jin thinks that the event he remembered from his past life happened around 15 years from the current date. But even so, the scenery in this place hasn't changed. The streets are riddled with poverty and disease, and most of the citizens have a dark expression. This is all due to the tyranny of the testers. First things first, Jin needs to find somewhere to sleep. They arrive at a pretty shady spot, and Murakan questions why they have to sleep in this run-down house, even though Jin is filthy rich. Jin just tells him that it'll be too suspicious for a group of unregistered mages to come out of nowhere and also have a ton of money. He tells them to suck it up as the three go inside. They greet the attendant, who is drooling at his desk, but immediately eyeballs his customers, assuming he hit the jackpot. He offers some of the inn's special orange juice, and I wouldn't touch that shit. And just after I thought this, the attendant thinks to himself that the three will wake up in the underground auction house after drinking the poisoned orange juice. Murakan stares at the drink and his eyes boil with rage. He throws it at the man, doinking him on the head, and questions why he would dare try to poison him. The man tries to question why Murakan is doing this, but is kicked in the head. The man is on the floor and trembling as Murakan cracks his fist, telling him that this is the last day that he will spend alive. Murakan begins whooping his ass, and Jin thinks to himself that this man is Jet, and is actually someone that he was indebted to in his past life. Apparently, the only reason Jin was able to settle down in Arkan after being exiled was due to Jet's help. But it wasn't for a good reason. Jet scammed Jin out of everything to the clothes that he was wearing, and just thinking about this pisses him off. But this time it's different. This time, Jin will be the one using Jet. Jet tries to fight back, even claiming that he's a 5-star magician, but is punched in the face by Murakan. As he's being beat mercilessly, he tries to apologize, saying that it wasn't really poison, just sedated. But Murakan continues his beating, saying that it's the same thing. Jin stops Murakan, saying that they should hear him out. Jet begs for his life and tells Jin to please save him, even calling him my lord. He will atone for his sins. Jin sits atop the desk and tells Jet his options are actually quite simple. Answer the questions he asks, and if he lies, he will die. If he tells the truth, then he will live. Jin will be the judge of the answers based off of his instinct. Jet agrees because he has no other choice and reveals that he is Jet, an inn owner, an informant, a scammer, and a human trafficker. He gets on his hands and knees telling Jin that if he can be spared, he will be of great use. Jin asks the reason he tried to drug them. Was it to sell us? Jet says that is true, and Jin slams his foot down on his hand, asking where he was planning on selling them. Jet reveals the underground auction house and goes into more detail that it's the Tessing auction house, a dark organization that sells slaves, drugs, and other stolen items. Jin is happy with this information and tells Jet that he will be healed, and he knows what to do next. Jet thanks Jin for his lenience, and Murakami questions why he's being left alive. He might try to scam them again. But Jin says they need a guide in this unknown area, so they need to trust him for now. First, Jin will go find someone to treat him, leaving Gilly and Murakami speechless. As Jin leaves, he thinks to himself that it's hard to act cool when he knows everything. It's so hard not revealing that he's lived another life. Some time passes and the doctor Jin found heals Jet and leaves. Jet curses Jin in his head. How dare he beat me up and then heal me? Just who in the world does this guy think he is? Even assuming that he is the heir to a martial arts family or the special division. It doesn't matter who they are. Jet thinks to himself if he tries to backstab them, it might be the end of him. Jin tells Jet that it's time to go to the underground auction house. We see a shot of this aptly sick mansion with 2 guards at the gate, and these hard asses see Jet leading the group and ask him why he brought so many people today. Jet tells him to shut up and open the door. They are his guests. A man opens the giant door, revealing a high-profile party with everyone wearing masks to probably hide their identity. Even though this place is for gangsters, it sure is classy. Jet says the public thinks a guy named Salka is the boss, but the real boss has the identity hidden. Jet hands the group some masks to blend in. Jin asks who the real boss is and is informed that it's Spider-Hand's Alu, and this place is catered to his tastes. He wants to hide the fact that he is an uneducated criminal, and to someone like Jet, Alu is different. He has the ability to bring order to the streets, and is also a 7-star martial artist. And rumor has it, he has connections to the rune candles. This fact surprises Jin. Murakami tells Jin to ignore it, and even Gilly agrees. Now that she thinks about it, she's never heard of such a man. But Jin remembers that there has to be such a man, the bastard who placed the curse on him, the curse that made him unable to wield a sword. If this man has a connection to the Magic Federation, then he's likely to find the culprit. The 9-star curse, Bladed Illusion. Jin doesn't think that there's any mage in Tessing who's able to cast such a spell. But for the last 15 years, he wasn't even able to find a single clue leading him in the right direction. He needs to start with finding someone who has a motive against him. And the reason he came here anyways was to destroy this entire family. So it's another bonus he gets to check out the identity of this Alu guy.